Micheál Martin can win back support, but thinks an internal party confidence motion could happen.
I think it may be possible, but I welcome the fact, for instance, that the Taoiseach is now engaging and meeting with backbenchers to talk about a lot of our concerns. I'm going to be meeting with him later on today. He's an experienced politician, so he should be able to read the room.
A member of the Fisheries Committee on Donegal County Council says he feels very let down by Europe. Councillor Martin Farron says it's difficult to know what to do when fishing vessels are set to be left tied up because of impending fishing quotas that are expected to be cut by 70% next year. It follows reports of depleting stocks of mackerel and blue whiting due to overfishing in Irish waters by foreign vessels. Councillor Farron questioned MEP Luke Flanagan at a recent meeting about whether there'll be compensation for the people who'll suffer as a result.
Not just talking about the fishermen that are out at sea. I'm talking about the impact it's going to have on the factories as well, and say your net factories, and just in general, it's going to hit places we'll say like Killybegs there extremely hard. There's no doubt about that. It's going to be devastating. But what gets me as well is like Luke Flanagan, what I alluded to it there yesterday, like the Norway and the Faroes. They're just basically putting their two fingers up to Europe, and from what I can gather, they're going to continue on fishing. So where does that leave us?
A man that was arrested in relation to a burglary that took place yesterday in the Clonella area of Derry has been charged to court. The 25-year-old was charged with a number of offences, including burglary with intent to steal and possession of an offensive weapon with intent to commit an indictable offence. He's expected to appear before Derry Magistrates Court today. Motorists are warned that the Glengesh Road will be blocked today and tomorrow for resurfacing works. The works will take place from the N56 Glengesh Road junction to just beyond Bracken National School. Looking now to weather, bright and breezy today with sunny spells and scattered showers. The showers will become more widespread later today, and some of them could be heavy and prolonged, with highest temperatures of 10 to 12 degrees. That's all for now from the newsroom. Back with more at 10 o'clock.
We all push things out, but some things are too important to leave until tomorrow. Like your pension. At Irish Life, we make it easy to start today. Try our pension calculator at irishlife.ie. Or if you're ready to start or top up your pension now, talk to your financial broker or advisor. A better life with Irish Life. Irish Life Financial Services Limited, trading as Irish Life, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Irish Life Financial Services is an insurance intermediary tied to Irish Life Assurance for life and pensions.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning. 4 minutes past 9 on this Tuesday, the 28th of October. You're very welcome along to the 9 till Noon Show. It's the first one of the week. Hope you enjoyed your long weekend, if you were able to avail of it. I suppose lots of people work the weekends, don't they? But anyway, I think the majority are off for the weekend. So hopefully it was good. Hopefully it was nice. It was breezy last night, though, which was lovely when you're trying to get sleep for me anyway. Okay, we are going to be having a bit of a post-mortem, a bit of a debrief on the presidential election. Your new president is Catherine Connolly. She's the president-elect, and sending good wishes, actually, to current President Michael D. Higgins as he continues his recovery in hospital. He's in there being treated with antibiotics for an infection. But the people of Donegal spoke, the people of the country spoke, and it was a very interesting election on many, many different levels. I think the spoiled vote was an interesting one. We had a show on Saturday. If you heard it, thanks for listening. If you didn't, but I suppose I was reflecting, you know, as people were talking of spoiling the votes on this show, I couldn't really... Honestly, right? Because I prefer to be honest. I never said it was a silly campaign. I would never lose language like that. But I just thought it was effectively handing the election, if you were opposed to it, either Catherine Connolly, as it turned out, or Mairead McGuinness. But I suppose the level of the level of the spoiled vote does actually send quite a strong message, and it dominated quite a lot of the conversation and coverage. And I suppose those that were engaged in it were saying, we're not going to win the election with a spoiled vote, but we send an incredibly strong message. And I think that did happen. I think it did happen. So I think in some of my commentary in the lead up to the election, it's not that I didn't see the sense of it if you didn't want to see the other two elected. But then I suppose when you see the scale of it, it was about not necessarily stopping them being elected, but in fact sending a message, and that message was heard loud and clear, I think, anyway. So I'm always one for putting my hands up and saying, I think I read that one wrong, to be honest with you. But anyway, we'll be discussing that and other elements of the election. We'll be breaking down what happened in Donegal. Also, we've got Community Garda Information coming up after 10 o'clock. That and so much more besides over the next 3 hours of the 9 till noon show. And we want you involved throughout. If you've got a comment on anything, not just what we've got lined up, but if you want to raise an issue, maybe there's something going on in your life, in your community that you think we should know about. Maybe you've got some good news or some positivity to spread. We love that too. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. 086 60 25,000. Alternatively, you can call 07491 25,000 or email comments@highlandradio.com. And if you listen to the podcast or the overnight repeat, feel free to get involved in the conversation. We'll pick up your comments and carry them through to the next live show, right? And you can watch the programme as well if you're at home, working from home, working in the home, for crying out loud. Your Fire Stick, your smart TV, we're on the YouTube app, Highland Radio Ireland. We're across your Facebook pages and on the X platform as well. What's making the front and inside of some of the papers? Well, the Irish Times lead, Taoiseach to avoid Fianna Fáil heave in the short term. There is little apparent appetite among Fianna Fáil TDs for an immediate heave against party leader Micheál Martin, a survey of the party's Dáil deputies suggests. But Fianna Fáil's disastrous presidential election campaign may still threaten Mr Martin, who many TDs declined to say if they back the Taoiseach as he prepares to enter his 15th year as party leader. And I suppose you could count amongst them backbencher Deputy Patrick O'Callagher. He has refused to endorse, or the opposite really, Micheál Martin. Mr Martin will continue to meet backbench TDs this week as he attempts to heal relations with his party in the wake of the embarrassing exit of Jim Gavin from the presidential race. Loyal ministers yesterday appealed for calm from their colleagues after Mr Martin was publicly criticised over the weekend for his stewardship of the party's failed presidential campaign. Wicklow Wexford TD Malcolm Byrne, who will be meeting Mr Martin today, said that the Taoiseach had led Fianna Fáil through some very difficult periods. The presidential election campaign, though, was a disaster and has left many members and supporters angered and disappointed. But are they prepared to speak out? I suppose, how does it go next? The greatest threat to Micheál Martin would be if another senior member of the party were to challenge him. Jim O'Callaghan, for example, if he thought he had enough backbench support. So maybe that would be how it might be triggered. Someone comes out and publicly, and a highly ranked politician comes out publicly and says, enough is enough. I don't know. We'll see. The Irish Independent this morning, Longford is the only county to avoid a traffic fatality so far this year as road deaths have risen above last year's levels. Road Safety Campaign Group Park has revealed that fatalities involving motorcyclists and pedal cyclists have spiralled to the highest level in almost 2 decades. By Sunday, October 26th, a total of 139 people, 2 more than for the same period last year, had died in Donegal. Very sadly, 10 of our wider family, I suppose, have lost their lives, which is a high number, only lower than Cork and Galway. And if you look at 10 versus the total, it's far too great a percentage of the overall total, considering there are 26 counties. And of course there are in the Republic, and there are variations and reasons as to why, depending on the road layout, etc. But, Dublin Road's incredibly safe. They've got an awful lot of fast carriageway there, maybe indicating that is a safer way to get about on the roads. But Donegal, 10 people, 10 of our potential listeners, their families, their friends, mums, dads, daughters, sons, have passed away. And it's just too high. It really, really is. I want to pick out another story in the Irish Independent, and it's comments from a priest. And I've kind of tried to speak in this space previously. I'm not saying I fully agree with him, but I'll read the article and we'll tease it out from there amongst us. It's a priest warning that condolences on death by suicide may not send the right message. A priest in the west of Ireland has appealed to people to stop posting comments such as, he's in a better place now, or he's at peace with the angels when sending condolences for those who've died by suicide. Speaking in the Cathedral of the Assumption in Tuam, County Galway at the weekend, Father Mark Quinn revealed in recent months he'd experienced his most difficult week of ministry so far. In the space of just 1 week, 7 days, I attended the funerals and burials of 3 middle-aged men. Each one of those men had died by suicide. Father Quinn said many people had spoken to him that week about the devastation of it all, and they questioned why Ireland now had a terrible epidemic of suicide. Between 450 and 500 people die by suicide every year in Ireland, 80% of whom are younger or middle-aged men. Appealing to people to be careful how they use words, Father Quinn said words such as "he's in a better place now" did not send the right message to people who might be struggling. And I do have agreed with this priest in the past. I'm agreeing with him now, but I've thought these things in the past, and I particularly have a worry about this with younger people as well, in that sometimes I think younger people don't realise necessarily the impact their actions might have on others because they're young and they don't understand, how as you get older you fight for life so much, right? The last thing you want to do is die, and that comes with age and experience. And I think younger people maybe don't understand the finality sometimes. I don't know. A psychologist would understand this better than I. But if you were feeling like that and you're a young person and you watch on and you see another young person that's passed away, often it's a huge funeral. There's guards of honour. There can sometimes be specific social media platforms set up to celebrate them. And there is often this language of being at peace or flying high with the angels. And for younger people, I think that potentially could almost glamorize it. Is that the right way of talking about it? For older men, according to this priest, it has an impact as well. I'm not quite sure about that, but it does give this impression that if you do take your own life, that there is you're flying high, you're at peace, and you would hope they are, and often they are if you understand, but that depends on each person's belief system. But I do think we don't want a situation whereby we set things up in a way that makes something more attractive than it might otherwise. Now, you don't condone, calls names or anything like that. But I just wonder what you think out there. What is the general feeling? I suppose if it's a family member, it might be comforting because you're seeing this outpouring of, words of solace and stuff. But maybe we do need to think, do we, and look at the bigger picture and think that maybe it might glamorize it for a younger person who doesn't understand the ins and outs of everything. Or maybe it might just be that tipping point for an older person. Maybe that fella's saying, well, I'll show them, I'll show that person that, I want to get at because they'll see what people are saying about me. I don't know, but I think we just need to be careful and maybe have a careful conversation about it. What do you think? WhatsApps and text to 086 60 25,000. If you completely disagree with the priest, or maybe agree with the priest, or maybe you've got a personal experience, it's completely up to you, of course. 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Caroline, you might me give that sheet about the Donegal town. Just I don't have it with me here. Because it ties into this story of... I said on this programme during the summer, just anecdotally looking around, talking to some people in the tourism industry, that, there were some businesses that just looked like they were holding on or look like they are holding on. And you get through the summer and you hope to, make money. And that money's often used to help you through the winter periods and into the next boom time. But I don't think the numbers were around to sort of give a lot of businesses that space. And I said on the show that I expected, in October, November to see a spate of businesses closing because I didn't think the reduction in VAT was going to be enough for them with all the other costs that they have to incur. So reading from the Irish Daily Mail, a majority of tourism businesses have reported either a decline in revenue or no increase in turnover this summer. Fulcher Ireland's latest tourism barometer survey found 43% of all tourism business had reported a fall in income this summer compared with the same period in 2024, with a further 20% reporting no change in business levels. Just over a third of businesses, 37%, said revenue increased, although turnover levels overall have declined. So power is not coming down, wages are going up, other expenses, input costs are going up. It's putting pressure on the smaller businesses that also maybe can't diversify a bit in the winter to bring people through the door. And I'm not attributing this to this story I'm reading next, but very sad news from Donegal Town. A second Donegal Town business closes. Dock 84, O'Hare's Bakery, Donegal Town, has closed. On their social, they said, "A heartfelt thank you to all our wonderful customers in Donegal Town for your loyalty and support." They have stores in Ballybofey and Letterkenny, which of course, I want to be clear, are remaining open. 55 in Donegal Town Business Park will close next weekend. Its owner thanked customers who became friends. She also thanked her dad and said none of what they had would have been possible without them. Now, I don't know why they closed, and I'm not attributing that to this, but I can imagine, say, Donegal Town, incredibly busy in the summer. And you really need to make your money in the summer, though, because it can be quite busy at the weekends. But like most towns, it gets very quiet. And I do wonder how many other business owners out there are going, you know, do we lose another $6,000 in November, or do we pull the pin now? And I just hope it's not too many. 086 60 25,000 if you want to talk about that or if that affects you. The Irish Daily Mirror, a drag queen has vowed she won't be deterred from being unapologetically herself after being attacked. Crystal Queer, 25, was left bloodied after being kicked and having a phone smacked in her face in a shocking incident on Oliver Plunkett Street in Cork City on Sunday night. And like everything nowadays, the video footage is out there. Part of the homophobic attack was caught on camera as Crystal and fellow performer Lucina were filming a promotional video for an upcoming event in the midst of Cork Jazz Festival celebrations. Speaking to this newspaper after reporting the incident to Gardaí, Crystal, who has been performing in drag for the past 7 years, said it was not the first incident, but it was the most violent, adding, "It won't stop me at all. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. I think I'm going to have to be more cautious. But at the same time, I think it just shows how important it is to be visible and just be unapologetically yourself." So the two of them were doing a PTC, a piece to camera, promoting an upcoming event. And they were assaulted, actually, by two different groups of lads, it has to be said. And then they posted up a defiant video thereafter. And finally, a man arrested for an alleged assault on a woman canvassing for President-elect Catherine Connolly has been granted bail. You might have seen this video as well. Daniel, well, he videoed it himself. Daniel Soave, Soave, never seen that name before. He's 39 and appeared at Dublin District Court yesterday, facing charges under the Non-Fatal Offences Against the Person Act and Public Order Act. His case has been adjourned pending direction from the DPP. He agreed to bail terms, banning contact with any witnesses and online posts about his prosecution. He didn't really say much in court except when it was suggested he became physical. Though if you watch that video back as well, he seems to reference something along those lines himself. Right, that's a run through some of the stories in the papers and inside the papers today. A lot of it's a crossover of what we might or will be talking about, etc. John McAteer is going to be joining me in this hour to break down the presidential election nationally, locally, what it might mean for politics. Also, maybe talking about some of the pressure that might be on the Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael leadership. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. 086 60 25,000, because it's your voice I really want to hear on this. 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000.
Newspapers are kindly supplied by Cosgrove Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Now with the new look Mountaintop Diner.
It starts with the fall, but it doesn't end there. If you're lucky, there's the hospital bed and the faces of your family when they see your injuries. There's the pain and the operations and the months of rehab and more pain. And the realisation that things may never be the same, if you're lucky. Your fall only begins when you hit the ground. Wherever you work, plan ahead when working at height. Visit hsa.ie/working at height. A message from the Health and Safety Authority.
You value getting into the spirit of the season with hair-raising fun and deadly offers waiting around every corner at Lidl. Risen from the earth, our Board B approved Irish pumpkins from 89¢. And when kids come a-knocking, there's treats from 69¢. Halloween at Lidl. More to value.
It's here. The new Opel Frontera. Join Manor Motors for the Frontiera Test Drive event and discover the Wow, the new family fun SUV from Opel. With big comfort, huge space and room for 7. Choose hybrid or electric and make every drive a new adventure. Get behind the wheel at Manor Motors, your Opel dealer. Now with 5 years unlimited warranty. The new Opel Frontiera. Fun has found its family.
Discover amazing deals at Floyd's Restaurant, Ballymagori, Strabane. Enjoy a 2-course menu for £19.95 Monday to Friday, €1 for pound night Wednesday and steak night Thursday. Sunday carvery from 12:30 to 3:30. Party packages and function rooms available. Call 02871 382905 to book.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
9:22, just turned. Right, okay, so you had your say on Friday, and resoundingly right across the country, not least in Donegal, your president-elect is Catherine Connolly. So some of the stats a moment to correction on, of course, here in Donegal, the margin of victory for Catherine Connolly was the 5th highest in the country at 54%. Heather Humphreys had one of the lowest percentage of votes in Donegal, 38th out of the 43 constituencies at 20%. At 4% in Donegal, Jim Gavin received the second lowest percentage of votes, 42nd out of the 43. Donegal had the 25th highest level of spoiled votes, 12.7%. Out of interest, the highest was in Dublin Northwest at 20.5%, the lowest in Dublin Rathdown at 6.8%. And the overall turnout across the country was 45.8%. That's higher than 2018. But if you wanted to remove the spoiled votes, it's either the lowest or the second lowest turnout ever. And just how did people spoil their votes in County Donegal? Well, 29.4% of you who did spoil your votes just spoiled your votes. So that could be multiple X's, a big X through it, whatever it might be. 41% of you put Maria Steen's name on the ballot paper, and this is a sample of ballot papers. Maria Steen and what the tallies people deemed a far-right remark was at 14.4%. So Maria Steen named in total 55% with a mixture of her name and her own or what was deemed a far-right remark. And 13.8% of people that spoiled the vote just put down a far-right remark. Now, I don't know precisely what they are, but I presume it's things like, you know, some anti-immigration sentiment or something along those lines. Whether it's far-right or not far-right, the tallies people just deemed it so. So that's kind of an overall breakdown of how things went in County Donegal. The editor of the Tyrconnell Tribune is John McAteer, of course. John was with us, thankfully, in the Count Centre on Saturday and has been digesting everything since. Good morning, John.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm all right. So what message did the people of Donegal send? They overwhelmingly backed Catherine Connolly, of course.
Well, the first thing is that the margin of spoiled votes was huge. You know, we're a fairly conservative county in Donegal. If I would have been pushed out on Saturday before the votes began spilling out of the boxes, I might have said a couple of thousand, but you have to have 4,334. That is massive. And the effect that has, and it does have an effect, it pulls a decent, respectable turnout of 45.8 down to under 40%, 39.9. Now, in that situation on Saturday, the margin was so huge it didn't. But had Heather Connolly or had Heather Humphreys and Catherine Connolly been running neck and neck, there would be question marks about the spoiled vote to an extent that either could claim that they were the victor. Thankfully, that didn't happen, but this is a whole new phenomenon. I wouldn't dismiss it or criticise it. People do what they think is right. The fact that campaign began from literally out of nothing and it permeated itself into every single polling station across the country is quite massive.
Yeah, and I misread it in the early days because I thought it was I didn't realise it wasn't about stopping either candidate from getting elected. It was about sending a message that, you know, we're the 49% here. We're the people that don't feel there's a candidate in the race for us.
See, there's something very seriously wrong when you have a huge cohort who went to the polls and they boosted the turnout, and they did so falsely by being there because they went to the polls not to elect a president. Now, we have not been at this point in our democracy or in our constitutional rights ever since 1937, because this would have been about the last thing we would have thought of. I think it shows that there's a huge disenchantment there. That Irish Times poll 8 days out from the election showed that 49% didn't feel represented by either of the two candidates. And they're well entitled to do that. But I mean, you have to ask then, does that mean that there's a disconnect between the likes of Micheál Martin, Simon Harris and all those?
Well, it is, because, and we were discussing it on Saturday, but most people wouldn't have listened. The reality is as well, what the government party and their PR people thought were controversies in relation to Catherine Connolly were some of the very reasons why people were voting for her in the first place, which further would indicate to me a disconnect with what the general population think about matters such as a European army, our position on certain global issues, etc.
Catherine Connolly campaigned on those issues. Top of her list was housing. And I mean, you've only to look at the Dublin constituencies, all 12 of them. She steamrolled her way through them as if there was no opposition. Margins of 5-1, even in the Taoiseach's own constituency in Cork South Central. Her margin was 3-1. Numbers of other constituencies similarly. So one of the big concerns in Fianna Fáil now is, as they're now analysing those results, and in Dublin particularly, where you get the real voice of Ireland, from all aspects, from very poor, from very wealthy, and the Novo rich, and all of these people. There isn't a TD in Fianna Fáil that will feel safe. And as far as Simon Harris would be concerned in Wicklow, she steamrolled her way through that as well as if he wasn't even there. I mean, he would have been, as one constituency, I would have expected Heather Humphreys to have won, because the leader of the party is from Wicklow and probably campaigned in Wicklow, but he was whacked. And at the end of the day, this was a very angry electorate talking out in the only way that they can, that you had that 213,378 of them. You know, it's 12.7% is a huge, huge amount of people.
It feels a little bit at this point that if Simon Harris speaks, even that he's going down in the opinion polls. It's like nothing he can say can address his position in the public psyche.
Well, that's because, you know, he came in 18 months ago, and it's just only then promising new energy and new vision. He dropped 10 seats to Micheál Martin at the local elections, and he made an awful mess out of it. This time was worse even, because he tried to absent himself as much as possible. He wasn't on the airwaves all that much, but anytime he appeared, the criticism just mounted. And the result, I suppose, it's a huge disaster for the Taoiseach himself. And party members will have to ask themselves, is he the man to go on leading us, even though he's only there? I mean, just listening to Sean Kelly was on Sunday, very, very bitter, very realistic, that they had two good candidates. One of them was anointed and the other one was shafted. And that was the way it happened. You know, Fine Gael has this new idea that the minute somebody goes, within an hour, there are 40 members of the parliamentary party backing the official one. And I mean, that happened with Heather Humphreys. Within hours, 40% or more of the parliamentary party were backing her, and they didn't do that accidentally. They were being prodded and pushed by head office in Dublin. And Sean Kelly was left with 12 votes, and he had no option. He couldn't reach that quota even to contest the race against her. That's not democracy. I mean, when people are being prodded and pushed into backing somebody, probably against their wills.
And you factor into that, you do have to factor into that too. And councillors, I understand, were part of the decision-making process. But Fine Gael also, I mean, obviously, you could argue they blocked a candidate within their own party, but they also potentially blocked other candidates from entering the race. Again, you throw that all into the mix, it doesn't feel terribly democratic.
See, that diktat came from Simon Harris. It was completely unnecessary. But Fine Gael stuck to that rigidly. Fianna Fáil stayed silent. They didn't back anyone, but they thought this was clever. We'll stay silent. what's the consequence? That nobody outside of mainstream politics stood a chance of ever getting on a ballot. And that's wrong. I mean, we're still now stuck with the 1937 Constitution that laid out a very different vision of a very backward Ireland. It's 88 years ago. There's been more demands, and there'll be bigger demands now for a full revision of the electoral system that'll be taken out of the hands of the politicians entirely and be handed over to Art O'Leary and the Electoral Commission, who'll be quite capable of managing and handling that.
If you were strategising now, if you're either Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil, both party leaders are under pressure. Both are seen by many as this two cheeks of the one bum, right? And Fine Gael arguably are going to become less popular as those lines and that difference blurs. Is this government going to go full term? I'm less convinced it is. I can see a split where both parties try and establish their own identity again under new leadership, or do they hope that the public forget and have a couple of giveaway budgets before the next general election?
Well, their last throw of the dice when the MRBI poll came out on the Thursday week was to go totally 100% negative in attacking Catherine Connolly. That backfired spectacularly. It probably created a whole new area of votes that you could tap into. And I mean, Heather Humphreys had to get over the 65 age group to have any hold or any grip on the ground at all.
And Connolly outpolled her in the over 65s as well.
Yes, she did. But it was the only group that she got any real traction with. But like at the end of the day, their mismanagement of the election, it's like something out of Fawlty Towers. It was just that bad that you couldn't believe.
But
that
what will the consequences of it be?
There will be consequences. There'll be big consequences because it is so early into the leadership. It is so early into a new government. They're not there a year until January, so they have plenty of time to. They can circle the wagons for all they're worth, but TDs, they're a bit more astute than that. I suppose against that, you have numbers of TDs in very prime positions in government, in cabinet, junior ministries, chairs of committees, membership of committees, and there's this kind of a fixation that this is a career, it's a job for life. We couldn't give up this extra 20, 30 or 50 grand a year that we're getting. Politics should be about a lot more than that, and I would hope it would be, especially in Fianna Fáil's situation, given that Micheál Martin is into his 15th year there, and he is deadwood at this point. It's just a question of who can pull the right triggers and who can do what.
I want to ask you a couple more questions.
I think that will happen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll tease that out with you, if that's all right, John, as to how that might happen after we take a quick break.
The Irish Times says the hybrid Dacia Bigster might just be Ireland's best car right now. That's a big review. Well, it is a big family car with big space, big tech, a big boot and big hybrid power. Get more for less from just €29,990. Visit your local Dacia dealer to find out more. Dacia. Drive more for less. Price excludes delivery and related charges. T's and C's apply. Offers are limited. See dacia.ie.
Meet James. He made big savings on his car insurance when he made the switch to Outsurance.
Hi, I'm James. It's true, I saved €179 when I made the switch. And with the Out bonus, I'll get 10% of my premiums back in cash after 3 years claim-free.
Ooh, lovely. For a competitive car insurance quote like James's, call 1-800-600-400 or visit outsurance.ie. Real people, unreal savings. Outsurance. You always get something out. Based on a like-for-like policy comparison, the customer received a gratuity for their participation. Out bonus calculated less taxes and levies. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Car and home insurance is underwritten by Outsurance DAC. Outsurance DAC, trading as Outsurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Us pigeons see everything when we're flapping around up here. Well, almost everything. See, burning certain fuels releases invisible toxic pollutants, which can trigger asthma and lead to serious illness. So, if you're going to light a fire in your home, make sure to use low-smoke fuel. Oh, and never wing it burning rubbish.
Choosing low-smoke fuel is better for all of us. Let's clear the air for everyone. And remember to clean chimneys and heating appliances at least once a year. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Rossview Interior's mega Halloween sale is now on in Letterkenny, with unbelievable savings throughout the store. Sofa suites from €1,250, and see the new range of corner sofas. There's dining sets from €790 and huge savings of occasional furniture and lighting. So get along to Rossview Business Park, Letterkenny, just off the Polestar roundabout, and pick up a real bargain.
We're discussing the fallout from the presidential election. Catherine Connolly is your president-elect and put in a very good campaign, it has to be said, and ran away with it in the polls to the point that by the time we went on air at 12, it was all done and dusted effectively. And we knew that was going to be the case. There's a limit to even how much me and John can waffle, believe it or not. By the way, someone asked, can you listen back to the coverage? Yet it's a 2-hour show. You can go to YouTube and go back a couple of live streams and you'll see it there. It's on Facebook as well. John McAteer, editor of the Tyrconnell Tribune, is with me. And just listening to some of the commentary from backbenchers and reading between the lines, the Donegal Deputy Pat the Cope Gallagher not endorsing Micheál Martin necessarily, but also not saying he lacks confidence in him. And I've heard a few others reference waiting until such time as this investigation into the selection of a presidential candidate is concluded. There just feels a little bit of biding the time here that, you know, there is potentially a push or a heave or something along those lines, but they want this process to conclude first. Or am I running away with myself, John?
No, I think it's pretty definite the heave now has gathered momentum, very much so over the weekend. You can never dismiss the kind of a result that Catherine Connolly delivered, because I've written from day one, and I think you've been saying much the same, this was a vote of confidence in the government, and they were whacked, they were hammered into the ground, and particularly in those working class areas, the less affluent constituencies around the country. They took an awful pasting, and Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael seats will definitely be at risk. And unless both of those teams, Fianna Fáil, it's quite obvious that Micheál Martin simply has to go. He no longer commands that kind of support that he had, because we were hearing the bizarre stories on Saturday afternoon that he didn't even intend going to Dublin for the announcement, that he was doing a slot on the RTE 6 o'clock news. And then when he came, he eventually got there, and he just defended himself, saying, "Well, I'm here now, and I didn't realise that the count was going to be declared so early." What was he waiting for? He should have been in Dublin all day, reassuring his backbenchers and just taking them for cups of tea and saying to them, "It is bad. It's probably going to get worse. Let's be realistic about it."
Let's say he doesn't survive a heave, or he gets a sense of which way the wind's blowing and steps down and you know, I've done my time, I've achieved this, I can't take the party further, and I want to give, you know, the next person the opportunity to prepare the party for the next election, or whatever it might be. You know yourself, John, ChatGPT writes the script itself. But what would a post Micheál Martin Fianna Fáil do? Like Jim O'Callaghan, I think, is a very different type of politician. If it were he, I could see them sort of maybe moving more centrist, slightly even easing in a slightly more righty type of direction. Would the Fianna Fáil stay in power with Fine Gael under a new leadership for the term of the government, or what?
We have no idea what kind of a leader Jim O'Callaghan might be, because he plays his cards very, very close to his chest, and being a senior counsel, that's understandable. He probably has a good rapport with a lot of the TDs that's there. John Lahart would be sort of the man that speaks on behalf of him on RTE. The change is needed, even for the sake of change, to give the party a new direction and a new purpose. And the second attraction for Fianna Fáil there is that leader would be based in the centre of Dublin. Jim O'Callaghan might not even want it. I mean, he talked about it as far back as 2020 that it was his intention to be a Fianna Fáil leader one day. It's 5 years down the road or more since that happened. But when you go beyond Jim O'Callaghan, you're looking at very few. Dara O'Brien,
Jack Chambers.
I think he is born to stick. You know, I don't think that he would have the confidence of the parliamentary party at all, because he is seen as much to blame for the Jim Gavin debacle and bringing him on board. And they're not going to get away from that there. They're not going to get away from a whole lot of issues around this election, because Micheál Martin was probably too long in power.
It's just interesting. I think it's just interesting, John, if Micheál Martin sees which ways the wind's blowing, does he bother with a long, slow-burning heave? Or does he, you know,
Well, you
go
know,
out
you'd
in
have
his
to
own
ask.
term.
Charlie Hoy stuck it out. He faced 6 or 7 heaves. We lost track of the many he faced, but he turfed it out. Michael Martin might not have that fight in him to do so. He might, at this point, have thought to himself, I've served the country well. The backbenchers have lost my confidence. I handled it very badly. Will he be humble enough to admit that he made a complete and utter balls out of it? I think that he probably might be. He'll have surveyed the debris of the last 3 months. You know, that there were candidates there that should have been in the running and they should have had a voice at the parliamentary party, and that was stuffed out. There was no communication allowed at the parliamentary party where you have over 70 Oireachtas members. That was totally arrogant.
Now,
that
one
arrogance
question before we go. The 12.7% of people that didn't vote. Now, I know a lot of people, and when I say a lot of people, I'm talking about 5, 6, 7 that I know who voted, but they voted for, they felt they had to vote or wanted to vote, but they voted for either Catherine Connolly or Mairead McGuinness, but not because they were the candidates they wanted, if that makes sense. They would like a third option.
Yeah.
So how do the 49% of those that feel they didn't have a candidate in that election be represented now? The 12.7%, I don't know what the spoiled votes turnout was, right? So say those that were inclined to spoil their votes, what the turnout amongst them were, for an example. So in other words,
I would estimate roughly the the spoiled votes is always running at about 1.8% at the most. You mean, at our last presidential election, we had 750 or less spoiled votes. This time we have 6,434 or whatever. That is a phenomenal thing. You know,
who's going to speak for those people, though? Who do they vote for, be it in Donegal or nationwide? Like, does Maria Steen send a message to government by standing in the Galway by-election, for an example? Does that test where we're at? Does that become a referendum on national politics?
It could be any one of a number of them. It could be Declan Gandley. It could be Eddie Hobbs, well-known figure on RTE, face recognition. He was, for a generation, he was never off the television. It could be one of those, but Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and the government will have to move. I think there's no doubt that the referendum itself is long since outdated, especially on electoral reform. You can imagine that there was 2.9 million in the country in 1937, 38, and De Valera got it set in stone that Fianna Fáil was going to be in power forever, and that was wrong. But we've had ample opportunity to revise that and to make the whole process more holistic to more people. I mean, the idea of shutting out people is wrong. We don't do that very well. In fact, we do it very, very badly. But at the end of the day, the first thing that should be on the agenda is electoral reform, and it should be handed away from the entire political process to the office of the electoral commissioner, and let him sort that out. And I'm quite sure he would do.
All right, a lot of food for thought, and if you're interested in politics, certainly I think a very interesting few months ahead. Thank you very much as always for your expert views, John McAteer.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg.
Bye. And you'll be able to read his views on the presidential election in the Tyrconnell Tribune out broadly on Thursday, but many of you know you can get a copy in many places on Wednesday evening. Thanks so much for all your texts coming in. Really appreciate it. Those views critical. We'll be reading some of them, of course, as this morning wears on. We'll be reading all of them, actually, in fact.
The Letterkenny Halloween Fest is on this Friday the 31st with spooktacular fun for all the family. Dress up for the CDP's Fancy Dress competition and get on the Shop LK Trick-or-Treat Trail between 1 and 3. There's storytelling, a Halloween Fest parade down Main Street and so much more all afternoon from 12:30. This Friday. You dare not miss it. Brought to you by Shop LK.
With colder days and longer nights, energy bills can feel unpredictable. But with Uno Energy, you're never in the dark. See what you've spent each day and even get a forecast of your next bill so you're always one step ahead. Join Uno Energy today and save up to €945 a year on dual fuel. With Uno Energy, you just know. Uno Energy discount variable electricity rate EAB €1323. Discount variable gas rate €1151. For T's and C's rates and savings calculations, see unoenergy.ie. Suppliers pricing may change.
Uno Energy. Autumn is alive with a kaleidoscope of colour, nature and adventure at National Trust NI. Unwind and relax with a crunchy leaf walk through Llewellyn Garden. Sample the finest seasonal food at Florence Court's Harvest Fair. Gaze into the majestic mirror-like lake at Mount Stewart. And breathe in the beautiful garden at Castle Ward. Or delight with frightful fun on one of our trails this Halloween half-term. Come along and make wonderful memories this autumn. Search National Trust NI today.
The 2026 commercial range is here at iMotors. Upgrade your fleet with a Nissan Primastar or new Nissan Interstar and get either fuel up or tool up. €1,000 fuel or €1,000 tools with your purchase. You invest in your van and we'll invest in your business. Reliable vehicles that keep your business moving. All backed by 5 years warranty. Pre-order before December 23rd for a chance to win €10,000 exclusive to iMotors. iMotors, the fearless generation.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Our Christmas shop has now opened for all your festive shopping needs. Explore our extensive range of decorations, bedding and more in our homeware department, in-store or shop online at mcelhenneys.com today.
Bright and breezy today with sunny spells and scattered showers. The showers will become more widespread later today and some of them could be heavy and prolonged. Temperatures of 10 to 12 degrees. Now I'm joined on the programme by Aideen McCarter, who's Head of Culture with Derry City and Strabane District Council. Good morning, Aideen. Thanks so much for joining us.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
I am good, and we're speaking ahead of Europe's biggest Halloween festival. It's how did Derry find itself in this position? I mean, obviously it's down to promotion and participation and the obvious stuff, right? But to get itself on the map as the premier Halloween festival in all of Europe is really quite a remarkable achievement.
Well, Greg, as many of your listeners will know, the festival is about to celebrate next year its 40th anniversary. It started on the streets of the city in Derry about nearly 40 years ago. We had a very, I suppose, happenstance beginning. It was one. There's lots of debates over which pub it started in, but it was a fancy dress party in one or at least two pubs that really snowballed. The story goes is that they were put out onto the street after a bomb scare one night, everybody in fancy dress, and started the first unofficial parade on Shipquay Street. It grew in its early years to become a huge event. And again, many of your listeners will know that the council then stepped in, I suppose, to organise it a little bit, to try and make it a bit more manageable and formalise the parade, introduce the fireworks. And gradually over the years it has grown. And it really has grown because the people right across the Northwest love it. And it was very difficult to grow an event to this scale with purely investment and marketing alone. It can only happen if people embrace it, and that's what makes it so special. We have invested heavily. I mean, between ourselves, Derry City and Strabane District Council, and Tourism Northern Ireland over recent years, we've increased our investment in the programming and in the marketing. And Tourism Ireland have also invested heavily in marketing Ireland as the home of Halloween. And we've seen indeed our colleagues at Donegal County Council and Fáilte Ireland also come behind that a lot as well and invest in Halloween programming.
And why wouldn't you too? Because, to get 120,000 odd visitors into the city on the very edge of the shoulder or outside the season, whichever way you wanted to look at it, it's a massive boost for any region and, of course, the business community as well.
Absolutely. It is traditionally what would have been the start of the quiet season, particularly in tourism and retail and hospitality. This sort of time of year what was traditionally a sort of a quiet time before you got maybe the lift of Christmas, but this allows the summer season to be extended right through to Christmas, and it is a real lift for our local businesses at this time of year. It does generate a significant amount of money into the economy in the Derry and Strabane Council area certainly, but right across the Northwest, right into Donegal and right up into the North Coast, we see the benefits, and particularly with the investment, as I say, that Tourism Ireland is making in marketing Ireland as a home of Halloween, particularly in North America. That sees, a huge number of international visitors coming here. And we've seen that over the last number of years. You know, the kinds of visitors that are coming, they're coming to spend more time on the island, and crucially, I suppose, they're coming to spend more money. It's a really special experience. I mean, we say that Derry Halloween is a little bit like Edinburgh is to New Year, or Rio is to Carnival. It's the kind of place that, you know, it is we would say that's certainly the best place, the biggest Halloween event in Europe. It's the best place in the world to celebrate Halloween. And people want to come and experience that, and it's the people that make it special. You know, what our visitors would say to us is they know as soon as they arrive and say they're here for Derry Halloween, everybody from, you know, the taxi driver that'll pick them up at the airport to everybody that they meet when they check in the hotel, they all they're all talking about it, and
yeah,
they're all
and as you say, there's people choosing to travel from all over the world to it. People listening to this show have the opportunity, if you're living local, just to head up the road to it. Which some people would give their eye teeth for. So it really sort of begins this evening, culminating on Friday. Run us through what people can look forward to, Aideen.
So we have activity really from, I mean, our Halloween markets will open from 12 today, and there's lots of activity on all day. The moon, Luke Jerem's The Moon arrived yesterday at the Guildhall. So if you didn't see that the last time it was here, I think in 2019, that's a really special experience. But the core activity is Awakening the Walled City, which we run over 3 nights, which is tonight, tomorrow night and Thursday night from 6 to 9 p.m. That's where we close largely all of the roads within the walled city, and, you know, showcase the best of the arts and culture and history and heritage. It's a real exciting trail. It's an animation trail. There's at least 50 items on the Awakening the Walled City trail. So that's what a lot of people come for these particular nights. And those of you who are familiar, those of your listeners who are familiar with the programme will know that we switch it up then on Friday night, on Halloween night itself. Lots of activity on during the day, and there's a full programme on our website, derryhalloween.com. But the highlight then is obviously our carnival parade, which sees well over 600 participants, and there's a huge number of exciting characters coming to participate in the carnival parade this year. It's at 7 o'clock, and then obviously the highlight and the culmination of the overall festival is fireworks on Friday night at 8:15 right across the River Foyle.
Obviously, this is a massive policing stroke stewarding operation to make sure that, you know, the movement of people is well controlled. That relies obviously on people heeding direction, but there is a great deal of organisation gone into that, isn't there, as to, you know, where people can park or not park, or how they get about, and in which zones certain activities are happening. Is it easy to navigate for those who might go, right, you know what, this year's the first year I want to go up and see what it's like?
Yeah, it is. It should be very easy to navigate. And there's lots of, I mean, what we say to people, and it's the same advice going to any event of this scale, you know, take your time, plan your journey. There's plenty of information about available car parking and traffic and travel information, public transport options on our website. And I would say take a bit of time, plan your journey, but it is designed, and we put a lot of work into making sure it's safe, but ultimately we put a lot of work into making sure it's an enjoyable experience for everyone who comes to visit. And that's making sure that there's plenty of room for people to get around, and for people to see and enjoy everything that there is to offer. There's some things that are ticketed. Again, that's usually nearly always clearly indicated on the website. But the majority of the on-street of the Awakening the Walled City experience is free, and it's, you know, it's free to wander around. We are putting in some additional pedestrian measures this year, so there will be some one-way systems for pedestrians, but again, that should be fairly self-explanatory, and there's plenty of stewards and staff there to direct people and give them that kind of information. But yeah, it certainly is the kind of thing that you could decide to go to. But like, you know, I would always say take a little look at the website and make a little bit of plan. But there's some, that's the beauty of the experience that we create, particularly the Awakening the Walled City Trail. You can nearly turn around, you know, you can turn around every corner and there's something new and different and exciting. And that's what makes it so special.
Brilliant. And if people want to plan what they attend or any further information on what we've been talking about, the website you mentioned?
It's derryhalloween.com.
Couldn't be simpler. Go ahead.
Yeah, and plenty of our social media channels as well will carry that information too.
Okay, brilliant stuff. Huge numbers. Thanks so very much indeed. Aideen McCarter, Head of Culture with Derry City and Strabane District Council. That is Europe's biggest Halloween festival. Underway in Derry City and Strabane District Council from 12 today, the Halloween markets, and then a series of events from tonight onwards. I'm sure it's something many of you have gone to. The big one, of course, is the Carnival Parade on Friday night. 086 60 25,000 if you have anything to say in relation to that. A caller on the road says, just wondering, when are they going to do something about the traffic lights at Maclay's Corner, Stranraer? Are people jumping red lights? If one person jumps, usually a second or third will follow. Or if the light is turning on amber when a car is passing, the car behind usually follows, even though the light is red. Not always narrow to turn to Letterkenny. Very dangerous. I've not really witnessed that. A junction that I've gone through, obviously, quite a lot. People will go on amber. That is the truth, and they'll try and sort of tail someone, even if it's gone red whilst they're on amber. But I haven't seen much light jumping, because it's the type of junction. I think if you saw that, there'd be a lot of crashes. And I'm not saying it's not happening. Was anyone else asked to take their polling card home as they'd no facilities to recycle them? Surely a government body should be leading the way and have recycle bins in each polling stations. That wasn't on my bingo card list for today of things that might come in relation to the election. But people were asked to take their bingo cards home with them in one or two polling stations. I'm not really quite sure, because they didn't have recycling facilities on site. A caller says the reason Connolly polled well in Donegal was mostly due to the Micah issue and those who follow Sinn Féin. Charles Ward took her to meet many families affected by the blocks. Mary Lou made a clown of herself, celebrating like she'd won herself. Catherine Connolly owes Charles Ward a bigger thanks than Sinn Féin. Of course, but I mean, they were united, and the whole idea is they were united behind the one candidate. That being said, yet she has taken a big interest in defective concrete blocks, no doubt about that. But also, she polled very well in counties where there aren't any DCB, or they haven't actually figured out that there's DCB in the blocks yet. It's inevitable, isn't it? All right, so much more to come, including Community Garda Information after the news and obituary notices.
It's the concert everyone has been waiting for. Join us for the Highland Radio Christmas concert on Tuesday, December the 9th at the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny. It's a star-studded lineup of country music starring Derek Ryan, Mike Denver, Jerry Guthrie, Keith and Lorraine McDonald from the Showband Show, Des Willoughby, and me, David James, and my band. Tickets are just €30 and now available at highlandradio.com from the Mount Errigal Hotel reception, or by giving us a call on 074 91 25,000. Overnight accommodation packages available, so don't miss the Highland Radio Christmas concert at the Mount Errigal Hotel, Tuesday the 9th of December.
Callan Tansey Solicitors LLP are holding personal injuries and medical negligence clinics in Donegal Town and Letterkenny. They will be in the Abbey Hotel, Donegal Town on Tuesday 5th of November and the following Tuesday 12th of November in the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny, both from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. To arrange an appointment, call Callan Tansey Solicitors on 071 91 62 032. In contentious business, a solicitor may not calculate fees or charges as a percentage or proportion of any award or settlement.
It's the 261 test drive event at Barry Brown Cars in Milford and Donegal Town this Friday 31st of October to Sunday the 2nd of November. Visit Barry Brown Cars to test drive your brand new 261 Suzuki. Order this weekend and enjoy 0% finance and a 10-year warranty at Barry Brown Cars, Milford and Donegal Town, your trusted Suzuki dealer.
Travelling to Dublin for business? Donegal Airport's same-day return makes it easy. Fly out at 7:55 a.m. and return at 6:50 p.m. Great fares and low-cost parking. Save time and book now at aerlingus.com. Terms and conditions apply.
McGowan Hearing, one of the longest established audiologists in the Northwest, now have weekly clinics in Letterkenny, Buncrana and Carndonagh. Book your free hearing aid consultation at one of these clinics or with audiologist Darren McGowan in your own home. Call 07191 00208 or visit mcgowanhearing.com.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. A Donegal woman has been appointed as interim CEO of the Irish Cancer Society. Adele Shovlin trained and worked as a radiation therapist in the UK, Ireland and Australia before moving on to become a health tech in Singapore and later healthcare operations leader in a global oncology provider in Australia. She returned to Ireland last year and joined the Irish Cancer Society as Chief Operations Officer. Ms Shovlin says it's an honour to take on the interim CEO role. Last month she spoke to Highland Radio News at a function in Donegal and spoke of the importance of Letterkenny University Hospital as a centre for research and treatment.
We will continue to fund research here in Ireland, and we hope that Letterkenny will continue to provide some of that research here locally in the county. Such an important piece of our infrastructure here in Donegal is at Letterkenny University Hospital, and the fact that it's now a cancer treatment centre, which it wasn't whenever I was growing up as much. It's really great to see.
A Fianna Fáil TD says it's possible a confidence motion in party leader Micheál Martin could be tabled in the coming weeks. A review of the party's handling of the presidential election campaign is now underway. Deputy Malcolm Byrne says Micheál Martin can win back support, but he says an internal party confidence motion could still be on the cards.
I think it may be possible, but I welcome the fact, for instance, that the Taoiseach is now engaging and meeting with backbenchers to talk about a lot of our concerns. I'm going to be meeting with him later on today. He's an experienced politician, so he should be able to read the room.
Well, Fianna Fáil Galway West TD John Connolly says a decision on Micheál Martin's future must wait until the party's presidential election performance review has been completed.
My honest opinion on that is that I think we need to let the review take place, but I think we need the review to happen in earnest and in an honest way, and we need to be done at the earliest possible opportunity. And from that, then we can take stock and see what further steps are needed.
A member of Donegal County Council's Fisheries Committee says he feels very let down by Europe. Councillor Martin Farron says it's difficult to know what to do when fishing vessels are set to be left tied up because of impending quotas. They're expected to be cut by 70% next year. It follows reports of depleting stocks of mackerel and blue whiting due to overfishing in Irish waters by foreign vessels. Councillor Farron questioned MEP Luke Ming-Flanagan at a recent meeting about whether there'll be compensation for those who suffer as a result.
Not just talking about the fishermen that are out at sea. I'm talking about the impact it's going to have on the factories as well, and say your net factories, and just in general, it's going to hit places, we'll say like Killybegs there extremely hard. There's no doubt about that. It's going to be devastating. But what gets me as well is like Luke Ming-Flanagan, what I alluded to it there yesterday, like the Norway and the Faroes. They're just basically putting their two fingers up Europe, and from what I can gather, they're going to continue on fishing. So where does that leave us?
A man that was detained in relation to a burglary in the Clonilla area of Derry has been charged. The 25-year-old was charged with a number of offences, including burglary with intent to steal and possession of an offensive weapon with intent to commit an indictable offence. He's expected to appear before Derry Magistrates Court today. 86% of people believe data centres should only be constructed if they're powered by renewable energy sources. New research from Friends of the Earth shows most questioned are worried that new data centres could affect local water supplies and surrounding ecosystems. The survey also found most people believe data centres should be helped the least in the event of power shortages. Rosie Leonard from Friends of the Earth says there should be a moratorium on such centres.
The other really interesting part about the data was that people were very, very in favour of increased regulation, and they're very concerned about water usage. In fact, of all of the countries polled, people in Ireland were actually more concerned about the amount of water the data centres were using than in other countries.
However, David Smith, the Deputy Chief Executive of Echelon, a data centre provider, says they can make a major addition to the country and contribute to the economy.
So the real question is, how do we make this sustainable and how do we make it additive to national infrastructure? And how we are doing that is through a couple of different pillars. So one is regionalisation. So we're developing these assets in parts of the country that aren't under as much pressure from an infrastructure perspective. We're doing it in a way which contributes to these regional economies, including renewal of brownfield assets.
Weather forecast bright and breezy with sunny spells and scattered showers today. The showers becoming more widespread later. Some of them could be heavy and prolonged. Top temperatures 10 to 12 degrees Celsius. That's Highland Radio News. Back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. Check all the day's news on highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notices this Tuesday morning, October 28th.
The death has occurred of George Noel Donnell, 53, Berry Hill Road, Artygarvan. Funeral leaving his late home on Thursday at 11 o'clock, followed by a service of thanksgiving for his life in Patrick Parish Church at 11:30. Burial afterwards in Newry Cemetery, arriving at approximately 2:30. Family flowers only, donations in lieu if desired, care of Mrs Ruth Hay, Funeral Director, or cheques made payable to Marie Curie or Macmillan Cancer Support. Everyone is welcome to call at the family home tomorrow from 10 a.m. until 10 p.m. The death has taken place of Mary McCarran, Drumley, Glenealy. Mary's remains are reposing at her home. Funeral from there tomorrow at 10:15 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Bocken, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on kildaffparish.com. Family time from 10 p.m. tonight. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Eamon McLaughlin, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of Jennifer Woods, née O'Neill, 14A Lochbracken Road, Pomeroy, and formerly of Lisnara Road, Parish of Donaghadee. Jennifer's remains are reposing at her family home. Funeral from there tomorrow at 11:20, going to the Church of the Assumption at Pomeroy for 12 noon Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. There will be a shuttle bus provided from the Church of the Assumption car park from 4 p.m. until 11 p.m. each day. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to Laurel House Antrim, care of any family member. House private on the morning of the funeral, please. The death has taken place of Mairead O'Connell, née Doherty, of Ballinajora Downings, Letterkenny. Mairead's remains will be reposing at her home at Ballinajora Downings today from 2 o'clock until 9 o'clock. Family time, please, from 9 p.m. after the rosary tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. A shuttle bus will be in operation from the Singing Pub Downings from 2 p.m. until 9 p.m. Funeral Mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock at the Church of St John the Baptist, Carrigart, followed by private cremation. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Cancer Care West, care of any family member. The death has taken place of James Alexander Alec McNatt, formerly of Tullybogley Manor, Cunningham. Funeral service in Kilfennan Presbyterian Church today at 12:30, followed by burial in Ballyone Cemetery. House private to family only, please, at his son's home 41B Whitehill Road, Eglinton. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired, or cheques made payable to Marie Curie, care of Mrs Ruth Hay, Funeral Director. The death has occurred of Dolores McHugh, née McGloin, Goland, Letterkenny. Remains are reposing at McCool's funeral home today from 2 o'clock until 9 o'clock. Funeral leaving her late residence in Goland tomorrow morning at 10:15 for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Sessionale at 11 o'clock. Interment in the adjoining churchyard. Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish YouTube channel. Donations in lieu of flowers, if so desired, directly to Donegal Hospice or at idonate.ie, care of any family member. The death has taken place of John Devine, 9 Glenelly View, Plimbridge, reposing at his home. Funeral leaving his home this morning at 10:25 for Requiem Mass in the Sacred Heart Church, Plimbridge at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to the Macmillan Cancer Support, care of Quigley's Funeral Directors. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
There's something terrifying in store for you at Aldi this Halloween. Choose from our range of sweets from as little as 72 cents. Roar and Dream chocolate treat size packs just $2.29. Specially selected Barnbrack, including a ring, 2 for $3.50. And 2-litre Vive Cola just 99 cents. All dead good value and everything you need to be the life and soul of your Halloween party. Aldi. All treats, no tricks. While stocks last. Deposit return scheme applies.
Welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Garda Gráinne Doherty will be joining me very shortly with the latest appeals and information from An Garda Síochána, so stay tuned for that. A caller says there's a lot of traffic going into Fawn. Motorists should make sure they're leaving plenty of time because it's so heavy. I wonder why. On Irish passports, a caller says, I'm from Glasgow and I've noticed on social media that people don't like people that don't live in Ireland getting Irish passports. Really, I haven't seen that, to be honest with you. I suppose it depends in the circles that you mix or what you're exposed to on social media or the algorithms. But I've never really seen a pushback against people from outside of Ireland having Irish passports. But that doesn't mean it's not happening, by the way, just to be clear. Read the roads. Last week, lights on Maclay side were working, but out of order on the opposite side. Very dangerous when crossing, indeed. Very dangerous. No doubt about that. I presume you mean particularly, obviously, if not exclusively, for pedestrians. Lots of you commenting on the election, of course. I know people have lost interest in the government since the budget. It was a lazy budget that left the people down. The government have no idea of the poverty that people are suffering. They're not in touch with the Irish ordinary people. This election has backfired on them. Another, Micheál Martin and Simon Harris saw past their sell-by date, done nothing in the budget for the working class. So it seems budget has featured in quite a few people's decision-making process. Another, many of Fianna Fáil TDs feel indebted to Micheál Martin, who helped the party grow 150 in seats since becoming the leader. Galway West by-election will be the first test of the new United Left movement presidential election, a once-off between two very different candidates in ability and appeal. I do wonder how well any collection of people, it's different with two parties, but how a collection of individuals can sort of cooperate when it comes to sort of a general election. So I think I'd share where you're coming from to some extent there. Another, Micheál Martin and Simon Harris was so anxious to get into power that they sacrificed all principles, and it's quite clear they have no vision for our country except to cling to power, believes a listener. And I'd also be very keen to hear some, if you're feeling in a pro-government mood, get in touch with us as well. I don't want it to be one-side bashing, but these are the comments that are coming in. Could you ask John, would he have a reason why Sinn Féin didn't have their own candidate? Would it be they hadn't anyone chance on their own, or maybe they couldn't get a person without skeletons in their cupboard? Another, we're not far right, Greg. We're 6,000 plus Gavin votes and 56% of the voters who didn't vote. Yes, Greg, have to laugh when I hear Martin and Harris saying about the biggest party's success, etc. one time, and I remember either was kingpin in Irish politics. Now they're in bed together to keep power, and as we speak, needing the help of Lowry to keep power. Now with this presidential result, it's even further demise for both big parties. They're definitely a sea change. Unfortunately, the alternative doesn't fill me with confidence, but they will get their chance. And I was debating this on Saturday and sort of trying to get out of our panel who steps forward now at this point. You know, who, if there is going to be a change in politics, you've got the sort of Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael on one side, and then you've got this coalition of the left potentially on the other. But I think there's a big amount of people that still are underrepresented or feel underrepresented. Is there a party there? It's very hard to launch a party. I don't think, Aintu can necessarily step into that space, or maybe they can. I don't know. They've got their own controversies to deal with at the moment. But, I don't see a political grouping there at the moment that there's a lot of people that would vote for. In other words, actually, the 6,000 odd people in Donegal that spoiled their vote, or was it 4? But either way, the 12.7%, who do they vote for? And who do the people that didn't bother going out to vote for if they don't necessarily like this Left Alliance or Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael together? I just think there's a massive gap there, to be honest with you. Read the election. Over 6,000 people consciously spoiled their votes in this election. A vote greater than Thomas Pringle ended up with 5,289 in the last general election. Yet Thomas talked down that 6K and called them far right and that they should be ignored. That spoiled vote went out and will go out again in the next general election. It is an intelligent, conscious thinking vote. Nationally, the 213,738 spoiled votes will determine the next government if they are organised. The 213k have been ignored continuously, election after election, law after law. Now they're realising they have some power. The spoiled vote has succeeded in ending Micheál Martin's time as Fianna Fáil leader. It's just, they say, a matter of time. Another caller asking, can we listen back to your coverage of the election on Saturday? Yes, and I mean, obviously, in terms of the actual vote itself, it was so one-sided. It's really more of an analysis of the lead up to the election, post-election, where we might be going. We had a great team down there. Michaela Clark, Caroline Orr, of course. Also John McAteer, father, Dr. Joe Kelly and Paddy Rooney and myself, and we had others that joined us as well from Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, Independent. So that's on our YouTube channel. It's not that far back. It's only a couple of shows back. So just go onto the YouTube channel if you want to watch it on the big screen, or on the Facebook pages as well, Highland Hub, Highland News and Sport. I'm sick listening to this name calling far right. If you've any semblance to a conservative, common sense, morally right opinion, a certain group with woke liberal views just want to bully them into silence and submission. I think that far right will become right wing. People kind of thought, I remember when Charlie Kirk was being referred to as right wing as if that was some sort of a slur. It's not really. And, you know, you do get right wing politics. And I think really what will happen is that we might see a more defined left, centre and right wing in politics. And those that are more conservative will become sort of, you know, you'll see a right wing party or the emergence of right wing candidates. Far right, I suppose, will start to become the people that are obviously very out there, racist or what have you. And I'm not saying that's where it's at now. Do you understand? I hope you understand where I'm coming from. So I think as we more move into a more defined sort of political spectrum here, if that's the way we go, that far right will become, you know, very, very extreme people with very extreme views, far left equally, and you'll have sort of left-wing, centrist, sort of right-wing politics. So I think that far right will become right wing to sort of encompass the greater population, but you'll always have far right elements that are you know, disruptive or rebel rousing or whatever it might be. That's my guess. I don't know how it will go, but the sort of the far right moniker, it's not useful for any party or person to use it generally to speak of a good chunk of the population. I think that will always be there for certain individuals, but you know, people of certain politics, I think there'll just be a reclassification of that. And it's up to people, I suppose, really to embrace one of those. You know, say, I'm not far right, but I'm right wing or whatever. You know, that's what they did in the United States. Simon Harris and Micheál must go. That's the bottom line here, says a listener. The plan was once again backfired. Why? What way is this to run a country, for God's sake, they say. Another, Pringle's reaction to the spoiled votes on Saturday with Greg was pathetic. He could join Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael or Sinn Féin any day in ignoring the concerns of the electorate. Any politician that ignores the amount of spoiled votes doesn't deserve a seat. And again, for some reason or another, in our election coverage and on the show, we went viral again. We seem to be, every time we turn around, there's a clip taken from the programme or what have you, and we end up going viral across the country. And it's not for any controversial reasons. I think we're just doing our job. But anyway, I don't see it with any other stations, but certainly it seems to happen an awful lot here. All right, back after the bingo numbers, we've got a Grania Doherty and Community Garda Information for this week.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 28th of October. You're playing on the brown sheet for the daily prize of €1,200. The reference number is S17. It's game number 44. The numbers are 41, 80, 38, 20, 24, 61, 79, 2, 71, and finally 51. Phone your claim to 910-4833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Get ready for Pumpkin Day at the ESA Centre, located on the Donegal-Derry border, air code F93F104. This free event is open to everyone. Choose from a great selection of Halloween pumpkins. Enjoy face painting, tasty treats, hot food and tray bakes. Get spooky in our photo booth and don't miss the fancy dress fun. Be there if you dare.
That's this Saturday, the 25th of October at the ESA Centre, air code F93F104.
Begin your next journey with Volvo at our 261 sales event. Experience our range of fully electric cars, including the updated EX40 with enhanced specification, or explore our full range of advanced hybrid cars. Take advantage of personal contract finance plans and drive home with excellent purchase contribution offers. Visit McKinley Motors during the 261 sales event to see the full range in person. Browse our range of offers available now on volvocars.ie. Terms and conditions apply.
You'll get a fright when you hear this scarily good Halloween deal from Mace. Drop into your local Mace store and pick up a Cadbury Dairy Milk Caramel Nibbles sharing pouch for only €2. That's a Cadbury Dairy Milk Caramel Nibbles sharing pouch for only €2. Have a spooktacular Halloween from everyone at Mace. Mace, going the extra mile. Offer available 28th to 31st of October in participating stores while stocks last.
The Community Garda Information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, monitoring homes and businesses in the Northwest for intruder, fire, panic and medical signals. Call Sheridan Security on 91 26025.
10 on Tuesday the 28th of October. Time for Community Garda Information, and in with us again is Garda Grania Doherty from the Letterkenny Garda Station. Grania, thanks so much for calling up as always.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
Right, quite a bit to get through, so let's crack on with the appeals. We'll start off with a burglary in Dunfanaghy.
Yes, Garda are appealing for information in relation to this burglary incident that occurred in the area of Kill Park, Dunfanaghy, between September 27th and October 25th. So this was only recently discovered that this had occurred. The owners of a holiday home in that area returned to their property only to discover that it had been entered and used between those dates by somebody who's unknown to them. No damage was caused to the property, and it's not believed that anything was stolen from it. We're appealing to anybody, particularly residents in that area, who might have observed any suspicious activity, people or vehicles in that area between those dates, to get in touch with Gardaí in Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530, and as with all of our incidents today, the Garda confidential line can be contacted on 1800 666 111.
So the person sort of resided in the property for...
Yeah.
Okay. Right, now, second appeal, it's actually two instances in the Glenties area.
Yes, so the burglaries again. Unfortunately, always, Greg, at this time of year, we see the incidents of burglary starting to creep up again, as the evenings are darker, longer nights. These are burglaries, two burglaries. They occurred in the area of Meenaleenahan and Glenties. Both of these incidents are believed to have occurred between 4:30 p.m. on Friday the 24th of October and 3 p.m. the following day, Saturday the 25th of October. One of these properties, which was vacant, was entered. The back door was forced open and entry gained. The copper pipes were cut throughout the property and they were stolen, along with the copper cylinder and 5 radiators. The other property, it was also vacant. It was entered through an unlocked front door. Again, the copper pipes were cut throughout the house, I believe from the attic also, right throughout the house, and they were stolen alongside the copper cylinder. So we're appealing to anybody who might be able to assist with relevant information to contact Gardaí in Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530. Anybody, we want to hear from them, anybody who might have observed any type of suspicious activity or vehicles in that area between those dates.
Yeah, well, I think it was last week or the week before, we were very much talking about, are we going to see an increase in this type of activity, which means, of course, we have to be very security conscious of our homes that we live in, but also, new builds, vacant properties. Grania, what's the advice?
Yes, so with the darker evenings now upon us, the longer nights, we're just reminding everybody of the importance of locking up and lighting up. Ensure your property is well secured at all times, that whether you're residing in the property or, as you said, if it's a vacant property, ensure that it's always secured. Leave some lights on inside and out, even if you're not going to be at home. Leave the place well lit up. Don't keep large amounts of cash in your house. If you have valuables such as jewellery, antique jewellery or expensive jewellery that you must keep in your home, please ensure that you have a good quality safe and affix it to a wall to store your jewellery in, and take a record of your jewellery and photograph any expensive jewellery that you might have in your possession. Always report any type of suspicious activity in your area or neighbourhood to Gardaí.
Can I hold you up on that one? I think that this is a critical part of this, and it's always been the case, regardless of if there's a guard in every corner. We are the eyes and ears of each other. And I know there are organised neighbourhood watch and all that type of stuff, but I just wonder if we should twitch the curtains a bit more. Do you know what I mean? That I wonder, are we sort of going for someone else to do it, or it's nothing, or it doesn't affect me?
And sometimes maybe people are hesitant to ring. They think it's nothing and being silly. It's not. Please do ring us if you see anything at all that stands out. Even a vehicle in your area, if you see it driving slowly past houses, pulling in at vacant houses, anything, just report it.
Yeah, because the way I would look at it is if I was standing on a pier and I saw an empty kayak float past, I know exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
So on land, if you see something that yourself doesn't seem right, do the same thing. You ring the emergency service.
Exactly. And often after the event, when we would carry out house-to-house inquiries following, a spate of burglary, say in a neighbourhood, And people would then say, you know, funny, I did see a car in the area that I didn't regular. I thought it was a bit funny at the time, but ring us when it's happening. Ring us and let us know when you see that car, when you see that person or that activity happening. Ring us straight away so we can dispatch a car out to the area to check it out.
Now, we're also sort of bogus callers, I suppose, calling around, and the next piece of advice overlaps into that as well.
Yeah, and I know it was widely reported in the media, I think not too far from here, the other side of the border recently, there was a bogus caller entered an elderly lady's home. And we had bogus callers in Donegal within the past few weeks also selling generators and offering to carry out various types of DIY work at people's homes. So we're advising people, particularly anybody who lives alone, well, everybody really, don't allow anybody access to your home unless you know them or you're confident that they're genuine and have a valid reason to be there. So for instance, if you had booked, maybe somebody to come to carry out a genuine tradesperson to come to your home, don't let anybody into your house unless you know them. Yeah. Use a chain lock also for extra security.
For sure, because we know how this works. It's been around for years. We know the services that are offered. We know the items that are offered, but we also know in this day and age, everyone's flat out. You know what I mean? No one's coming around offering work. So then what it comes down to then, it must be the persuasive abilities of the con person potentially.
Yeah.
And that's what we really, I think, ultra need to be protective of. Not be afraid to upset. Don't feel you have to open the door. Don't be afraid to ring the guards. Because I think everybody knows that no one's got spare tar from a job the council are doing up the road, and rather than throw it out, they're going to throw it on your drive.
Yeah, no genuine tradespersons going to call, as you said. They're not going to call door to door. You know, they advertise in the official manner. They don't call door to door offering their services. But I think where some people are caught out maybe is not maybe so much tradespeople, but people that are there, purporting to be there on behalf of a company, maybe an electrical company or carrying out a survey or things like that. No matter who the person is, if you don't know them, don't let them into your house. That's it.
That chain lock's that chain lock's a great defence, because you can open the door and not feel ignorant, but the door's closed. Yeah. Effectively.
And we do have bogus caller cards too. If anybody would like to call to the station, any of the 24-hour stations, Buncrana, Milford, Ballyshannon, or Letterkenny, with bogus caller cards there that you keep inside your door with a pen. It's numerous cards within an A4 sheet. You tear off the cards if somebody's at your door. You pass it out through the letterbox with a pen and tell them to write their details on it, and that you'll be in touch with them should you require their services.
Instantly shows that you know what's what.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah.
And also we have our own crime prevention officer. His services are there anyway as well too, for any bits and pieces of advice or maybe if someone's organising something.
Yeah, Sergeant Fergus McGrory there. He's our divisional crime prevention officer. He's available if anybody wants any advice for additional security measures around their business or home. He can be contacted in Letterkenny on 91 67100. And we just, before I finish on that, I'd like to ask people also, please do, over the winter months now, the coming months, please check in on elderly and vulnerable neighbours, family members and friends. And if it's somebody who lives alone who you're aware of that doesn't have many family members maybe in their area, and you do think they need a bit of extra assistance, don't hesitate to contact us. We'll get the relevant services sent to assist them.
Let's go to Donegal Tanks. A spate of instances, but hopefully some progress in the investigation.
Yes, so over the course of the 26th and 27th of October, a series of thefts, so 5 in total, occurred from parked unsecured vehicles in the Donegal town area. Items that were stolen varied from small amounts of cash, clothing, headwear, costume jewellery and tools. A man was arrested in the early hours of this morning, the 28th of October, in connection with these incidents, and he remains in custody for questioning. So as part of our ongoing investigation into these incidents, we're appealing to anybody who might have travelled in the following areas with a dash cam to make that footage available to us. So Rossmore, Drumroosk West, between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Monday the 27th, October 27th. Orchard Park, Donegal Town, between 2:30 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. in the early hours of Monday, October 27th. So a vehicle was also entered then in the area of Umwale Conora Avenue, Donegal Town, between 9 p.m. on Sunday, October 26th, and 7:30 a.m. the following morning, Monday, October 27th. So if anybody in that area or any of the areas mentioned above observed any type of suspicious activity between those times, the times given, we're asking them to call Gardaí in Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530 or the Garda Confidential line again on 1800 666 111.
Yeah, and more advice in relation to this, not referencing, the incident you've just referenced, but people are prepared to play the percentages, try a lot of car doors, and the ones that are open are the ones that are open. So we've all made the mistake, right? It's not victim blaming, but what should we be doing to best protect our vehicles and their contents?
Yes, well, the number one thing is, and we're steady repeating this, please lock your vehicle. But this doesn't matter if you have it parked in a car park in the town, at a shopping centre, or in your own private residence in a driveway. Lock it up. If your vehicle is left unlocked, it makes life very easy for the opportunist criminal to succeed. Try to always park in a secure and well-lit location if possible. Don't leave cash or valuables in your vehicle. And we understand, with regards workmen, it's not possible for them to remove their tools on a daily basis from their van when they're leaving it parked up overnight. But we do advise that any expensive tools should be property marked. Any details such as serial numbers or individual markings, maybe sometimes people scratch a marking onto their own tools, log that detail and photograph it also. Don't leave any tools in sight within your van, and again, ensure that your work van is locked at all times. And again, always report any suspicious activity around vehicles and public car parks or in your own neighbourhood to Gardaí immediately.
Yeah, listen, I know what I'd be doing. You can get a SIM card for 10 quid, a camera for 25, and have it pointed at the back door, constantly monitoring. It'd be 11 or 12 quid a month security, and as soon as the doors open, it goes bloopers, the alarm does.
And a lot of people now have the video,
Well,
the doorbell camera too, and they have their car parked in their driveway. But look, again, you need to have your car locked.
Yeah.
It's all right having the footage of the event after the event,
No,
but lock up.
100%, yeah, but anything that you can do there are measures that could be taken when your livelihood's in a van.
Yeah, almost certainly, yeah.
Because as you say, practically, to unload the van every day is not practical. Right, let's stay in the south of the county in a criminal damage investigation.
Yes, this incident occurred at Tyrconnell Street in Donegal Town in around 11:10 p.m. on Wednesday the 22nd of October. So a resident of a property at that location, they woke up, they heard a loud noise, only to discover that the concrete base of a plant pot had been thrown through the front window of their home. So we're appealing to anybody who might have been in that area with a dash cam to make that footage available to us. If anybody can assist with relevant information, we're asking them to contact Ballyshannon Gardaí on 071 985 8530, and that's a terrifying incident. If you're in your bed in the dark at night, you hear a bang, it's a terrifying incident.
I always think my couch invariably is always under the window, and I can imagine that coming in on top of me. And those responsible for that kind of activity, is only a matter of time. It's incredibly illegal to begin with, but if you were to seriously injure or kill someone, it ramps it up significantly. Shall we stay in the south of the county? Another criminal incident, criminal damage incident, this time in Bundoran?
Yes, so we're appealing to the assistance of the public in relation to incidents of criminal damage. These occurred on the Church Road, Bundoran, on Thursday the 23rd of October, shortly before 1 a.m, so in around 5 to 1 in the morning. A van and a car that were parked at that location were set alight, and a third vehicle then that had been parked close by was also damaged as a result of the heat from the flames. So the fire brigade attended the scene, extinguished the flames, and fortunately nobody was hurt. We're appealing to anybody who might have travelled in that area with a dash cam between midnight and 1:30 a.m. on Thursday the 23rd of October to make that footage available to us. And again, if anybody can assist our investigation with any relevant information, they're asked to contact Gardaí in Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530.
Yep, indeed. Now, a car targeted this time, though, in Quigley's Point.
Yes, again, we're seeking the assistance of the public in connection with this incident. Criminal damage. It occurred on the L1951 road at Carrowkeel, Quigley's Point, on Sunday the 26th of October. So a car was parked outside a house in that area. It was damaged right along from the front to the back of the driver's side between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. Damage was caused to all of the panels and also to the wing mirror. So the damage would appear to have been caused by another vehicle. So it's believed that the vehicle involved would possibly have travelled onwards towards the R240, the Carndonagh Road, following the incident. We're appealing to anybody who might have been in that area between those times, again with a dash cam, to make that footage available to Gardaí. Should anybody become aware of a vehicle that has sustained unexplained damage to the driver's side, we're asking them to get in touch with us. It's most likely to be the side that would have sustained damage on the offending vehicle. Gardaí can be contacted in Buncrana on 932 0540 in connection with this incident.
And I know you've mentioned it a couple of times, but sometimes people, I don't know, for whatever reason, that confidential line's there all the time. 1-800 666 111. You leave a recorded message, really, and it's investigated from there. Dangerous driving incident being investigated.
Yes, we're appealing for witnesses to this incident of dangerous driving. It occurred at Main Street, Falcarra, on Thursday the 23rd of October, shortly after 11:35 p.m. So a van was travelling along the main street, the N56, when it was struck by a car that had just exited a side road. The driver of the second vehicle didn't remain at the scene, but instead they travelled onwards onto the R256. No injuries were reported, thankfully. Gardaí located the car in question, a Toyota Corolla. It was parked up a short time later in the Dunmore area and it was seized. So investigations are ongoing. We're appealing to anybody who may have travelled in the Falcarra area, particularly at Main Street, the N56, or on the R256 with a dash cam between 11 p.m. and midnight on October 23rd to make that footage available to Gardaí. Any relevant information can be passed on via the Garda Confidential line again, or by contacting Ballyshannon Gardaí in 071 985 8530.
All right, now let's get on to some detections and a significant drug seizure recently, Grania.
Yes, Gardaí from Donegal Divisional Drugs Unit carried out searches at a residence in the Letterkenny area on the evening of Saturday, October 25th. A large quantity of cocaine and cash were seized. One person was arrested and questioned in respect of the seizure, and a file will now be submitted to the DPP for directions. So we would like to thank the public for their continued support and assistance with our efforts to tackle the sale and supply of controlled drugs in Donegal. Gardaí are appealing to anyone who has information in relation to the sale and supply of controlled substances in Donegal or the border region to contact the Donegal Divisional Drugs Unit on 9167100, the Garda Confidential line on 1800 666 111 or any Garda station.
All right, interesting reminder of some services available, and that's how people who may have a hearing or a speech impairment to contact the emergency services.
Yes, so the 112, and it's something that I just thought I'd add this in because I just thought it might be something that people might not be aware of. The 112 SMS service. This enables deaf, hard of hearing and speech impaired people in the Republic of Ireland to send an SMS text message to the emergency call answering service. And it'll be passed then to the Garda Síochána, the ambulance service, the fire service or the Coast Guard. The ECAS operator will act as a relay between the texter and the required emergency service. So this service can be used in any emergency situation when a voice call may not be possible. And what's sprung to my mind really, and this is anybody maybe who is a victim of domestic abuse.
Was thinking
Similar instances such as that. This service can be used by them also. And remember, this is an emergency service. It should only be used in an emergency, if a life's at risk or a crime or an incident is happening now and someone's in immediate danger. You can pre-register your details with this service. You can register your air code, medical history and other personal information, for example.
So presumably if someone had hearing loss or maybe, God forbid, had a stroke and their speech was impaired and they were living independently or enjoyed their independence, they could pre-register for this, and obviously that front loads a lot of the information. I think that would be quite advisable and quite comforting to know that they, or if they didn't want to scramble for hearing aids or whatever it might be. There's a lot of reasons why this would be a useful service for either the individual or maybe a family member or friend who will pass this information on to them.
Most certainly. And it's not mandatory that you pre-register, but of course it's of great use to the operators. Should an emergency occur and they have your next of kin and they have
there's my air code, here's my contact.
They have all of that attached, registered, attached to your mobile number. That's of great assistance to them. So as you say, look, we're asking your listeners to share this information with family and friends who may need to use this service. And if anybody wants to find out more details, they can check it out at www.112.ie.
Right, okay. Now, Gordon, to you, Halloween can be a fun time of the year. I'm not really convinced of that, to be honest with you. I could let this one slide quite easily.
It can. Well, after the 5th or 6th trick-or-treater ring your doorbell, it's fun up until that point.
Do people trick and treat as much? And I talk to people who've shed loads of stuff. They end up putting about 3 stone after Halloween on. There's not as much trick-or-treating going on. I think we're also blooming cautious and scared and worried and don't want to offend. And I don't know, it depends where you live, doesn't it?
I think I was actually discussing this with somebody yesterday. I think even in the area I'm living in, not so much anymore.
Caroline, do you see many trick-or-treaters? No, not many.
I think maybe a lot of the estates. I know myself, even from years bringing my fellow out trick-or-treating and that, you'd see a lot of them maybe even from the countryside. They seem to be dropped off in the town.
Well, how else are we going to get sweets?
Well, I suppose, look,
I just drop the kids off and say, bring daddy home sweets to the sticks.
I suppose the housing estates too are lit up. It's not as dangerous as out the countryside calling out.
It's got nothing to do with Gardaí. I'm actually just asking you as a resident, as a mum, but you just don't see it as much. But anyway, apparently Halloween can be a fun time of the year, but
unfortunately for some, it is far from fun, and that's true due to the misbehaviour of a few. So the illegal use of fireworks can, and it does, cause great distress to older people, pets, families, We're asking parents, please ensure that you know where your kids are. Conduct regular searches of their bags this week for fireworks. Stay alert, talk to your kids about the dangers associated with fireworks and just about the injuries that can be sustained, from the use of fireworks.
If you're not motivated by the concern of scaring other people or their pets, think of their eyes and their fingers.
Safety, yeah, and fireworks are not only dangerous, and this is something maybe the parents could explain to their children also. There are severe criminal penalties for anybody who is found guilty of the offence of igniting illegal firework, throwing an ignited firework at a person or property, or possession of illegal fireworks for sale and supply. So these penalties are fines of up to €10,000 and 5 years imprisonment. So they're very hefty fines associated with them. We're asking if anybody comes across fireworks for sale or any type of antisocial or illegal behaviour in the run-up to or at Halloween, please alert us immediately. You can contact us on a 24/7 basis in Letterkenny on 9167100, Milford on 9153060, Buncrana on 9320540 or Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530, and always call 999 or 112 in an emergency.
Yep.
And just when we were on the topic there about trick-or-treating, so we're asking parents to ensure that their children are accompanied by an adult while out trick-or-treating, and ensure that they wear some high-vis item if most of their costumes are going to be black, and it's very hazardous out and about trick-or-treating at night time wearing black clothing. So make sure they have an armbands on, that they have a glow stick, or they have a high-vis vest or something on.
And I
so they
suppose
can be
those
seen.
first on the road, just be conscious to keep extra vigilance, because it's inevitable that someone will go out and not be quite as visible as they should.
And I think the children then, in their excitement, you see them they're scooting across roads, they're running, they're trying to beat their mates to the next house, and they're running, and just talk to them about road safety too, not to be running, walk, stay on the footpaths.
And that doesn't mean things can't be really great fun either. I mean, sometimes when the advice is front loaded like it is now, it sounds like it's part of no,
Party
go
poopers.
out. Like, I'm saying people should go out, trick or treat, and we'll go, but it's just to be careful. It's just the basic stuff that's never ever changed since the invention of cars and all this crack. Right, a couple of questions, if you don't mind. A caller asks, there are flashing orange lights on ordinary work vans driving about. Is that legal? This is not uncommon. You'll see the flashing orange lights. What is the story with them and the legality?
Yes, so there are a certain amount of vehicles who are allowed, they're permitted to use amber beacons, and these are people who are working in hazardous situations such as roadworks, refuse collection, breakdown services. They use these lights to alert other road users. So these lights indicate a need for caution. Drivers should slow down and be prepared to stop. The use of amber flashing lights is restricted to specific vehicles as defined in the road traffic regulations, and they're for warning purposes. They're not for granting emergency priority like blue lights are. So vehicles that are permitted to use these beacons, amber beacons, are breakdown vehicles, road clearance vehicles, for example, for snow, ice or sweeping. Roads works vehicles, so these would be vehicles used in connection with the construction, maintenance and improvement of roads, or in connection with the provision and maintenance of water supply, sewage and drainage services. Vehicles for the collection and disposal of refuse, vehicles used for providing or maintaining gas, electricity or telephone services, and customs and excise patrol vehicles. So these amber beacons alert other drivers to the presence of a potentially hazardous or slow-moving vehicle off and on or near the road, and they're used to ensure that these vehicles are seen, particularly when the weather conditions are very poor or at night time. They're intended to prevent accidents by prompting other drivers to exercise more caution around the working vehicle. So if this listener, if they're aware of a vehicle that's using an amber beacon and they believe that it is being used in contravention of the road traffic regulations, then they should report the matter to Gardaí and we can check it out.
Okay. Garda vetting, why so many times? I completely agree Garda vetting is so important. It keeps everyone safe and accountable. But I'm wondering, why do facilitators have to go through the Garda vetting process multiple times for different organisations or venues? Each application takes time and care to fill out, and it's usually the same information over and over. Wouldn't it make more sense to have a central system where you're vetted once a year, receive a clearance number and can present that wherever you work or volunteer? It could really cut down on admin while keeping people safe. I'm not saying vetting shouldn't be done, just that maybe it could be done smarter. And this it's not just in terms of volunteering. Like, you have to get vetted for every organisation in some cases. Or I was speaking to a bus driver on this show, whereby to drive 3 different buses, they needed effectively vetting 3 times. But anyway, I suppose all we can do is reflect on what the rules are.
The rules that are in place, yes. So if you're working or volunteering with children or vulnerable adults in Ireland, you have to go through the Garda vetting process. So this process Checks if you have a criminal record or any history that may pose a threat to vulnerable people. The Garda Síochána National Vetting Bureau handles this process, and they send a vetting disclosure to the organisation that you're involved with. Separate vetting is generally required for each job, as vetting is non-transferable between the different organisations. There are exceptions, such as when two organisations may have a joint agreement allowing one to conduct the vetting for both. So it's understandable, like the frustration felt at the need to be re-vetted, but in order to work at different organisations, and time again, as you said, you're getting vetted maybe multiple times a year. But the importance of keeping vulnerable people safe is of paramount importance, and that's exactly why such a stringent system is in place. I believe the Garda vetting system is currently being reviewed with the view to strengthen the process around re-vetting requirements. And there was a part of that question there that said that the details are usually the same. And I suppose in some cases the details aren't the same. You might get vetted maybe in January or February, and the suggestion there would be to get vetted once a year. You know, you could always have a conviction within the year.
Yeah.
Your address could have changed. You could have changed name. You could have got married. Your name might have changed by deeds poll. You know, different
I suppose
types
me and you can only deal with what's there at the moment, but if there is a review of it, there might be a mechanism, like, say, for instance, with insurance details, where it could be updated or revoked or something, but we and you can't change that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I don't think it's well above our pay scale, though I'd say you're earning more than I am.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I say you are there now, Colleen. Listen, thanks so much, Grania, as always, for coming up and keep us updated with everything, and we'll chat to you again really soon. That's Garda Grania Doherty there of the Letterkenny Garda Station. That was Community Garda Information, which will be available for you to watch and listen back later on various platforms. And it's back live with you on the show next Tuesday, just after the 10 o'clock news. We'll be back after the break.
Get more great deals this week at Dunnes Stores. Pick up selected wines like Dada Malbec or Connoisseur and Oyster Bay Sauvignon Blanc, €10 or less. Get selected Pringles, Cadbury Treat Size, Mars Fun Size and Nestle Minis, now half price. And check out Deal 3 of our 12 Deals of Christmas, with Quality Street 550g tubs, now only €4.50. And stay tuned for next week's deal. Plus, you can save more with your 10 off 50 voucher. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Vouchers can be used on next grocery shop. Excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
Why leave the magic moments and great scenes you've captured sitting on your phone when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using McGee's website or one of their in-store kiosks, you just upload your photos, select the ones you want, and have them printed instantly within an hour, or use the 24-hour service. 35mm and film from disposable cameras also printed, and old photos can be digitally restored. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
Get ready to celebrate your Christmas party night in style at the Mount Ergal Hotel. On Saturday 13th of December, enjoy a festive night with the Cufflinks. And on Friday 19th of December, it's the brilliant All Folked Up. Your night includes festive drinks on arrival, a 4-course meal and live entertainment, all for just €50 per person. Book today at the Mount Ergal Hotel, Letterkenny.
October Spectaculars at Crawford Tiles Castlefin. 1200 by 600 porcelain tiles from €24.99. AC4 wood flooring $14.99. Pacific 6mm shower doors from $220. Thermal showers $149. LED mirrors $149. And freestanding baths €756. That's Crawford Tiles Castlefin. 914342.
Everyone wants to start the new year on the right foot. At iMotors, we start with our foot on the accelerator. Welcome to 261 at iMotors. Available in the Kia lineup, we have the Kia Picanto, the new Stonic, the new K4 hatchback, Kia Niro, the Donegal best-selling car Kia Sportage, and the Kia Sorento, available in hybrid and diesel. 0% finance available, 3 years free servicing and a €500 super value gift card. And be entered into our exclusive iMotors €10,000 giveaway. Final day is the 23rd of December. Someone will win. Terms and conditions apply. iMotors, the fearless generation.
Morning to you. How are you all keeping? I hope you're very well.
Hello, darling. Hope you've started packing. Mum. We're dying to see you this Christmas. The tree's up already.
Mum, I don't know how to say this.
What's wrong, pet?
I can't come home this year. It's just too expensive.
Oh, sweetheart. We'll miss you.
Sometimes life keeps us apart. But at Highland Radio, no matter where you are in the world, this year we want to make Christmas extra special for one lucky family. We want to bring a family home for Christmas. You can nominate yourself or a loved one. Visit highlandradio.com to submit your nomination. Let's bring families together this Christmas.
Make this Christmas unforgettable at Encourage Hotel in the heart of Donegal's Wild Atlantic Way. Enjoy cosy family rooms, selection boxes and hot chocolate for the kids, plus tickets to Errigal Pet Zoo's magical Santa experience, complete with reindeer grotto and festive fun for all. Book your Santa experience at Encourage today at encouragehotel.com.
Discover Centra Simple Savers, your haunt for fantastic value. Like inspired by Centra Party Food selected range 2 for €8. Selected Pepsi, 7up and Club 12 can pack €7 each plus deposit. And Carlsberg 8 can pack $13.57 plus deposit. Enjoy frightfully good value on all your favourites. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
It's here, the new Opel Frontera. Join Manor Motors for the Frontera Test Drive event and discover the wow, the new family fun SUV from Opel. With big comfort, huge space and room for 7. Choose hybrid or electric and make every drive a new adventure. Get behind the wheel at Manor Motors, your Opel dealer. Now with 5 years unlimited warranty. The new Opel Frontera. Fun has found its family.
Donegal Tile Centre's mega Halloween sale is now on, with huge discounts throughout the store. There's wall and floor tiles from as little as €7.95 a square yard, freestanding baths reduced to €799, vanity units and basin from €180, and massive reductions of mirrors and accessories. Make your way to Rossview Business Park, Letterkenny, just off the Polestar roundabout, and pick up a real bargain.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. Our Christmas shop has now opened for all your festive shopping needs. Explore our extensive range of decorations, bedding and more in our homeware department, in-store or shop online at mcelhinney's.com today.
So bright and breezy with sunny spells and scattered showers. The showers will become more widespread later today, and some of them could be prolonged. Temperatures 10 to 12 degrees. Now, Mr. Kieran Sweeney is a consultant neurosurgeon specialising in neuro-oncology and epilepsy surgery. Kieran, thank you for sorry for holding you so long. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you for having me on the show.
Right, and this year, as part of National Brain Tumour Awareness Week, Brain Tumour Ireland have developed a new guide to help spot the signs and symptoms of brain tumours in children and in teenagers. Like, we would like to think it never happens, Kieran, but of course, sadly, it does.
It does. I suppose with regards to the incidence of brain tumours in children and young adults, it's up there at the same level as leukemia. So it's one of the most common types of tumours that we come across in children. Probably somewhere between 50 to 65 children in Ireland a year are diagnosed with a new tumour of the brain or spine.
And we're not catching everyone then either, I presume, if we're trying to get the word out there as to what to spot.
Well, the part of the Brain Tumour Awareness Week, within that, we have the Heads Up public awareness, which is really to give parents and patients and general medical practitioners, such as GPs and emergency doctors, some ideas of some of the symptoms that can happen, because some of the symptoms that we come across, they can be very vague and they share a common origin, and particularly the very mild types of symptoms such as headaches, nausea, vomiting, some balance problems, and that they can always be put down to a viral illness, but there's some subtle differences that we're hoping to get out there across to people, and just to help.
I'll leave it to you, Kieran, to get
awareness.
Yeah, go on. You get that info out, whatever you think's most valuable to get to the public.
So the symptoms, I mean, I suppose really depend on the age, from baby all the way up to a young adult. But particularly in small babies, there can be very subtle symptoms such as an increasing in head circumference, or what we call the soft spot or the anterior fontanelle that can become full. And then the other symptoms that can progress that are shared across all age groups would be recurring nausea, vomiting, and some lethargy, balance disturbance, and sometimes there can be fits or seizures. And then there can be other things such as abnormal eye movements, or particularly when young children or certainly adolescents are going through puberty, there could be a delay in puberty. And so there's a whole range of very vague symptoms, but the most important thing would be that's to discern between a viral illness that can naturally, we all get some nausea, vomiting, balance disturbance, and lethargy or tiredness. And a viral illness is a very brief, short, self-limiting, whereas the symptoms that can be with a brain tumor in this sort of brackets, and they progress and become worse, and they don't improve, and sometimes and it wouldn't be an uncommon story that we hear in your surgery where these types of symptoms have been grumbling on for weeks and months, and only to reach a point where something is very, very obviously wrong, and the diagnosis is made at that stage.
I presume then this is about retaining contact with your GP then, is it? Because, I mean, a lot of what you've talked about there, you would want to be seeing your GP to begin with, I think, and maybe the GP in the first instance might prescribe something, I don't know, but you need to stay on top of it. Is that how we can best ensure we follow your advice?
Absolutely. So a viral illness is a short, brief illness that's self-limiting, and something that lasts more than several days, and that's open to interpretation depending on severity of symptoms. And things should always be reevaluated. So sometimes there may be a bit of a red ear, a little cough, sniffles, and that may fit in with a mild viral infection. But what that should clear up. That should not persist. It should not progress into more severe symptoms. So anything that deviates away from, I suppose, the non-specific viral illness diagnosis, we should always be reevaluating. Was that first assumption correct? And to go back and I suppose the NHS have a very good rule, the rule of threes. I think it was brought out just recently, where if patients represent to a medical practitioner on the third occasion with the same symptoms, then that medical practitioner should reevaluate the initial diagnosis or seek a second opinion.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting, and that's a message almost directly to GPs as well, I suppose. There's much more information on brain. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Kieran.
But not just GPs, but doctors that work in the emergency department. Any frontline doctor, and where neurosurgery is not your specialty.
Understood.
So it's impossible to be masters of all trades.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is where the public awareness comes in.
Okay, braintumourireland.com. Thank you very much indeed. That's Dr. Kieran Sweeney. He's a consultant neurosurgeon specialising in neuro-oncology and epilepsy surgery, a Donegal man as well. And listen, I know especially if you're a new parent or if you're parenting at all, it can be scary, and stories like that there fill people with dread. It kind of does me too, but we need to have that info, don't we? And it is relatively rare, of course, 50, 60 odd cases a year, but it does happen. And I presume the sooner you get attention, the better. And that's the motivation for getting that info out there.
Meet Louise. She made big savings on her car insurance when she made the switch to Outsurance.
Hi, I'm Louise. It's true, I saved €212 when I made the switch. And with the Out bonus, I'll get 10% of my premiums back in cash after 3 years claim-free.
Happy days. For a competitive car insurance quote like Louise's, call 1-800-600-400 or visit outsurance.ie. Real people, unreal savings. Outsurance. You always get something out. Based on a like-for-like policy comparison, the customer received a gratuity for their participation. Out bonus calculated less taxes and levies. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Car and home insurance is underwritten by Outsurance DAC. Outsurance DAC, trading as Outsurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
This Christmas, make it a night to remember at Century Complex. Choose from one of 3 packages: Jingle and Mingle, Feast and Fun, or Taste and Toast for festive dining, fun activities and cocktails. Available from November 28th for groups of 5 or more. Call us on 074 91 21976 or visit centurycinemas.ie for more information.
There's bingo every Tuesday at Mulroy Woods Hotel. €3,300 must go, with €1,000 on the last page. Doors open at 7:30. Bingo starts at 8:30, with spot prices for Halloween this Tuesday night at Mulroy Woods Hotel, Milford.
Thinking about changing your car? Making the change is easier than ever at Kelly's Toyota, thanks to Toyota Approved Used. Choose from our extensive range of used passenger and commercial vehicles, including 242 and 251 demo models at great prices. Tested and approved by Ireland's most trusted car brand. All our cars come with a 12-month comprehensive warranty with flexible payment options available. Talk to Kelly's Toyota today. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure, supporting you with the right footwear. Have you tried the Hoka Sensation yet? Hoka provides comfort, support and shock absorption, which makes them a good choice for frequent runners and walkers, or anyone whose job requires them to stand for the majority of the day. Check in store or shop online at bmcsports.ie. Step into our safe size experience. Get the right fit for you at Brian McCormick Sports. Christmas Club now open.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
It is 11 o'clock, time for a news update, and we say good morning once again to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Gardaí in Donegal town are investigating a series of break-ins after 5 unsecured vehicles were targeted over the bank holiday weekend. The incidents occurred in several areas in the town, with stolen items including small amounts of cash, clothing, headwear, costume jewellery and tools. A man was arrested in the early hours of Monday morning and is being currently held in for questioning. A Donegal woman has been appointed as interim CEO of the Irish Cancer Society. Adele Shovlin trained and worked as a radiation therapist in the UK, Ireland and Australia. She also worked in health tech in Singapore and later in healthcare operations leadership in a global oncology provider based in Australia. She says it's an honour to take on the role. Gardaí have launched an investigation after a concrete flower pot was thrown through the window of a house in Donegal town. The incident occurred on Tyrconnell Street at around 11:10 on Wednesday night last. Gardaí in Ballyshannon are appealing to anyone who may have witnessed the incident or has information to contact them. A member of the Fisheries Committee on Donegal County Council says he feels very let down by Europe. Councillor Martin Farron says it's difficult to know what to do when fishing vessels are left to be tied up because of impending fishing quotas that are expected to be cut by 70% next year. It follows reports of depleting stocks of mackerel and blue whiting due to overfishing in Irish waters by foreign vessels. Gardaí are urging anyone with information on the sale or supply of illegal drugs in Donegal to come forward. It's after members of the Donegal Divisional Drugs Unit recovered cocaine and cash during a search at a residence in the Letterkenny area on Saturday evening. And finally, Gardaí are investigating 2 burglaries at vacant houses in the area of Menalangan and Glenties over the weekend. Both incidents are believed to have taken place between 4:30 on Friday afternoon and 3 o'clock the following day. One was entered through a back door which was forced open, and the other through an unlocked front door. In both cases, copper pipes were cut through the houses and stolen, along with copper cylinders and radiators. That's all for now from the newsroom. Back with more headlines at 12 noon.
Thank you, Michaela. Thank you, Donna Marie.
Throbbing head, sore back, the aches and pains of cold and flu. No one pain is the same. But for all those everyday pains, there's a moment when you start to feel release. That moment when you start to get back to being you, and you feels amazing. Panadol Extra Film Coated Tablets. Powerful pain relief. Release starts here. Contains paracetamol. Always read the label, leaflet.
Now, you're very welcome back to the programme. This week on the 9 till Noon Show, in association with the DLDC, we are showcasing business. Celebrating Donegal's entrepreneurs. We'll spotlight the entrepreneurial spirit that makes Donegal unique. We're excited to feature these incredible businesses sharing their stories and showcasing how they've contributed to the local community. And you can also stay tuned to our socials, where we'll feature promotional videos showcasing their unique services. Carl McHugh and Patrick Gallagher are from KP Performance Coaching. Good morning to you.
Morning, Greg.
Both of you, how are you all getting on?
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
It's great to have you with us. Ciara Martin of Ciara Martin Digital. Hi, Ciara.
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you. And we also have Donna Campbell, Learning and Enterprise Manager with DLDC. Hi, Donna.
Hi, Greg.
Right, talk to me about the DLDC's role in I suppose, supporting and engaging with, entrepreneurs, businesses, I suppose helping them get off the ground, helping them grow.
Yeah, so I suppose what we try and do is create opportunity to allow people to come in and explore the idea of becoming self-employed in a very non-pressured environment. The idea is that somebody can come in and speak to us in a one-to-one just to explore and ask questions and, not necessarily with committing at that stage, but just to find out more information as to see what supports are available to
So
them.
flesh it out really with an independent party. I think I always find that would be the valuable part of it. One of the valuable parts of it.
That's it. And it can start off as a one-to-one just to explore, as I said, in a non-pressured way, and then we can kind of follow up then with other things that might be suitable. So it could be mentoring, for example, or maybe helping with accessing additional training, or just seeing what their goals are and what they would like to do, and then just help them achieve that.
Ciara Martin of Ciara Martin Digital. Talk to me about your business.
So I'm a freelance digital marketer. I build websites for small, medium enterprises, and I work on SEO, social media management, and all things digital. I help with branding for small businesses as well. My background is in Irish luxury fashion. I worked with Triona for 3 years. They have sister companies, Holly and Evie and Sleevely Cliff Centre, and I was the digital management of all 3 businesses for 3 years, and then decided to branch out on my own this year. I've enjoyed the challenge of working with different clients and expanding my portfolio.
What was that like, though? Because you probably had the relative comfort, right, of employment.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I always think it's incredibly brave, right, to someone says, right, well, there's something there that's sustainable. I know what it is and blah, 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 blah. But then taking the step into something that there's no necessary guarantees. Now, you can have huge faith in yourself, of course, which I'm sure you do, and the support that you enjoy. But it's that step that I think would hold me back.
Yeah. So I have a degree in business and marketing, and I've always wanted to work for myself. But for a long time, I was waiting for this Dragon's Den idea in terms of a product that I was that's my business and I'll know how to market it. And then I realized I'm not a product-based person. I'm a service. And that's how I was going to start my own business.
And can you do it remotely? In other words, is your effectively client base the world for all intents and purposes?
Yeah, so I work remotely. My clients span all over Ireland at the minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could span internationally if needed.
And I suppose you can't really enjoy going on the internet, can you? Because if it's not client companies, you would instantly see with your experience what's working, what's not working, how the business could grow. How important is our presence in the digital space?
I think it really came into play in 2020. As we all know, there was a pandemic and a lot of businesses were forced online. I think my business now also is great for a lot of small businesses were forced online in 2020 and then they just went online and didn't do much after that. I kind of come in and I help them improve their website, their user experience and their social media management to try and bridge that gap between was forced online and now how to improve my business online.
Yeah, I go online and I see there's a couple of things. Firstly, you're online anyway, I think, if you're a business one way or other, be it through Google reviews or whatever it might be. And a lot of businesses have no control about that. There's outdated information. And this could be from a takeaway to a clothes supplier. But I just see that, have a bit of ownership of that space because you're there anyway. But also, too, if I go onto a business page and it's just it's a holding page, a few generic pictures, I can't go through stock, I can't buy it. It's incredibly disappointed. And I will go to their competitor who provides that type of stuff. So if you're not in that space, you truly are at a disadvantage. There's no ambiguity in that anymore.
No, definitely. You are missing out on sales if you're not online. But I do think you can be online without strategy, and that's probably worse off, where I come in and I can either take over your social media accounts or I can build you a strategy that is manageable both for your business and for your online presence.
I'll come back to you because I want to talk to the gents here, Carl McHugh and Patrick Gallagher. Carl, I'll start with you. What is KP Performance Coaching?
KP it's everything. It's everything for fitness levels for youth, adults, whatever. We do soccer coaching. We do PT sessions as well for everybody.
This is a business model, I presume, a business model that you have created, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no template for this.
There was no template for this, especially for the youth. Like normally under 16s can't really go anywhere to do anything strength and conditioning, and we started a graduation program for them.
Yeah. And Patrick, when did sort of what is a passion obviously become evident that it could be a business?
Well, myself and Carol have been working together for the last 15 years ago, coaching voluntarily with Drumbar United. And I suppose over time, the one thing that we noticed was kids, particularly in soccer, kids were going to their soccer trainings, they're getting 1 hour contact time with their coach, and it was all skill-based. And then there's a lot of dropout in kids as they come to get into their later teenage years, and we think that the dropout, we believe the dropout is because probably not. There's a lot of failure. They're not fit enough maybe to last an hour or last 90 minutes of a football match. So we've kind of
bridged that gap.
We're trying to bridge that gap. We're trying to become a buddy to football coaches or football clubs, where we can give the additional resistance training, strength training to kids and even adults as well. We're working with Rafo Town there at the minute doing some maximum aerobic speed training, and that Rafo's absolutely flying.
Is this
at
the boxing
minute.
club, is it?
No, it's a soccer club.
The soccer club, all right, okay, yeah. All right, okay. And that is about percentages then, isn't it? It's about squeezing the extra percentages out that transfers then into performances on the day.
100%. It's the evidence is there, even now with Rafo. Rafo were a really well-run club up there, and they brought us in for their senior men, and their senior men they're absolutely flying at the minute.
Carl, how has DLDC helped?
Massively. Only for them, I don't think we could have branched out and did this.
So what was it? Supports? Is it advice?
It's everything. Supports. When we went in first with them, we contacted them and they brought us in, had a good chat with us, and it kind of branched out that we seen that we were able to do this then with the help of the DLDC.
So that sort of support or encouragement or sort of validation, that's very valuable then, isn't it? That they say, actually, this is a thing.
100%, because like I said, I don't think we would have branched out ourselves and did this without them.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay. And from your perspective, Ciara, I don't think I asked you, how did the DLDC assist you in the transition from employer to self-employed potential employee?
Well, as my business name suggests, I'm a one-woman show, so it was nice to have someone to give me feedback on my business idea. Obviously, I've done a lot of business plans and marketing in my degree and in my work previously, but there was a lot of steps that I really did need the help with, and thanks to Pauline and DLDC, who guided me along the way and supported me into the starting of my own business.
What's their website like?
It's actually good, yeah.
Donna, I think what we're seeing here is firstly 3 amazing business people, right? But, I'm trying to find some crossover here other than the lads' social media pages or what have you. But, this is very wide-ranging support from a one-woman entrepreneur to 2 lads, one in the digital space, one in the physical space. They're wide in the spectrum there.
Yeah, that's it. And to be honest, the range of different businesses that I've seen over the years, it is nearly anything. You can come in with any idea and we'll explore it. And I think what gives people the confidence is I think people are more afraid of the unknown sometimes. They're, it's just to kind of sit down with somebody and kind of tell them all the things that they need to watch out for or be aware of, and then come up with ideas as to how that they can actually cope through that. The idea of, as you'd mentioned, there being a one-man band, sometimes it's, how are you going to manage all the different aspects of your business? And we'll just explore that with them. And it's not that we tell them how to go in a certain direction, but it's they come up with the answers then. And then
they say, actually, your vision of doing it that way functions, but we've teased it out.
Teasing it out.
We can see. And I suppose too, Carl, we have the lowest sort of incomes in this county, and to address that, sometimes I think we're going to have to do it ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And that is, backing ourselves, backing our business ideas, seeing what we can create ourselves, finding a space there that can be plugged. That's what you're doing, really. There, you're the masters of your own destiny.
Yeah, well, look at it again. We're starting from nothing. We're starting from scratch. We took a chance. There's a couple other gyms in Donegal town, so we wanted to stick kind of.
Yeah, all right, okay. That's Raffo Club there.
That's,
we'll be back to you in a second, guys. Is that Paradise City?
Yeah.
Who puts Can I just ask a question before we go on? And I think DLDC needs to get involved in this. Who has a ringtone anymore? I remember I used to pay for ringtones.
Yeah.
That was a business idea, right? Now everything's on silent.
It's all free.
Yeah, all right. So he'll take you to Paradise City when he's finished this interview in a sec. Where we were at, you were saying there's other players in the market, right? So
yes.
Again, could be, if you were that way in thinking, another negative as to why you might step in there.
You see, I think we had to find a niche where nobody else was touching that market for us to step into to
fill, really.
To fill,
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So, Patrick, so what is? I want some talk about the businesses as well. So, just in other words, say you're speaking to potential clients. Who do you work with? Is it individuals? Is it clubs? Maybe, I don't know which one's the brains and the brawn, or maybe you're both. You can share it amongst yourselves. But who could you work with out there, and what would you bring to the party, and how can they get in touch?
Well, I suppose our strength coming into this was always going to be in the soccer area.
Yeah.
But we're open to the general public. We're open to other clubs. Incidentally, we've had Irish dancers contact us. They're going to start with.
That's interesting, isn't it?
We didn't see that coming at all, but it was fantastic. So there's a group of Irish dancers coming to work with us for lower body strength next.
That's
Monday.
what I was going to say. You can tailor that then, can't you? Right?
We can work with that. So basically, it's not just soccer clubs. We were in talk with a Gaelic club there as well, but that didn't work out, which was disappointing. But I suppose in business you're going to get that. We've just got to find a way, and I think we just got to kind of find our place in the
and it also feels like a business that will grow with the sort of organically, the word of mouth, the results, the testimonies, as well as you're doing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But that's the proof of the pudding when you start having league winners.
The good news stories are going to help us as well. Like we've had a couple of them already. In the gym, we've had one lad that come into us, and he's on our graduation program, our fitness graduation program, and he came in and he was low in confidence, low in fitness, low in everything, and his mother basically dragged him in the door on the first week.
Good mom.
And but he came in, he took part in that session, and he's been coming back 2 or 3 times a week ever since, and he's bouncing in the door, and he big smiles on his.
But I mean, you can tell you're in the right job, because that's the story that excites the two of you, isn't it? Yeah. And that's only one story, right? Yeah. That's what you're doing for. It's brilliant. And how is it? KP Performance Coaching? Just search it, or Facebook page?
Facebook. We have a website as well.
Website as well. There.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
Kira.
Yeah. No, well, listen. We're talking about Kira and her business now, because Kira, I mean, you've got. I presume you've established. I mean, you go in and every client gets the individual treatment, right? But you've got blocks of what works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I suppose I have experience across not just digital marketing, all marketing, PR. It is tailored towards e-commerce at the minute. But as my business grows, I actually am reaching out to different business models and expanding what I know and what I'm learning.
Yeah, and your growth is exponential. I mean, you just don't know where this could go, right? It's working really well, and on long may it continue. And we're going to get a sense, Donna, over the course of the week of the success of business, celebrating the business, I think, in the first instance, but also highlighting the important role DLDC plays, not only in these guys' lives, but that those services are there for others.
Absolutely. It's really just, I suppose, for anybody that might be listening, that has some sort of an idea or an inkling of an idea of something that maybe they've enjoyed. It could be a hobby that they've had, and there might be an opportunity maybe there. And it doesn't always have to be a business either that you're going to think you're going to do full time. This might be something that you're going to do part time to supplement your income. It could be something that you would like to scale. But it's just to let people know that there is support there for them, both kind of within a mentoring space, but also potentially grant income there as well. So it's worth coming in just.
And does that work in the space sort of too? Someone goes, well, what happens if I've been employed and I want to sort of start my own digital company? Do I become a sole trader? How does that work? The tax implications, stuff like that. Do you assist with that sort of?
We do.
The mundane but incredibly important.
Absolutely, we look at all the compliance things as well. Yeah. So who you need to register with, what the timelines are, what returns you would have to do. But again, it's not just about giving support to somebody at the very start and then launching them and leaving them to it.
Yeah.
We're very much there for the growth phase of their business as well. We encourage them then to join networks so that they have a team of people around them, their peers that have started businesses around the same time as well. So it's about growing that within Donegal.
And Pat, Carl, just on that note, does then that feel a little bit like a safety net then, that you know they're there if you need to sort of bounce something off them? Or
Oh, definitely. Like we have been dealing with Pauline Cannon, and she's been fantastic. If you need anything, you just call her, and she's always emailing out about workshops and everything like that we can join in for tax and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
the practical stuff.
Yeah.
All right,
no,
brilliant.
it's very good.
Listen, well done. That's KP. That's Carl and Patrick Gallagher from KP Performance Coaching, and we've also been speaking to Ciara Martin from Ciara Martin Digital, and Donna Campbell, Learning and Enterprise Manager with DLDC. And the last message to you, you can't get a better endorsement than people that are there. You've been there with the beginning, you're there in some cases, but you're there with them on the journey, and that valuable information, that chase up emails about courses or networking opportunities, Donna, and it's all there for other people. And is it a case sometimes too that maybe even that initial conversation is that is a hobby and it's not a business? I mean, I'm sure that's not that doesn't happen all that often, but I mean, maybe sometimes people want that independent honesty. Yeah.
Well, I think that's about having conversations as well as to what people's goals are. If it's something that they want as a full-time income from it, we'll have to explore that with them to see whether that business can actually generate that for them. But sometimes it might be just about supplementary income. So everybody's very, very different as to what their goals and what their aspirations are. But it's just really about sitting down and having those conversations with them and seeing if that business has the potential.
Okay, brilliant. And Ciara, if someone in business or influence needs to be on one social media platform, which one do you think it is?
It depends on what the business is.
I
couldn't answer that.
Say that.
But if anyone is looking to get online, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and my website, ciaramartindigital.com.
All right, there you go. That's how you do it, lads. I'm trying to drag your Facebook page out of you.
You better start following us there now.
I will indeed. Don't you worry about that. Well done, Ciara. Well done, Carl, Patrick, and Donna Campbell. And how do people get in touch, Donna, if they want any more information?
Website dldc.org, and you'll find the phone numbers then for the Letterkenny, Donegal and Gweedore office. You can actually meet us then in one of the offices, or we can come out to see you if transport's an issue for you as well.
Right.
Try and make it accessible.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks so much. Really enjoyed that. We'll be back with more after the break.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Take a few days away and join us for the Highland Radio Country Cabin Getaway this February at the Sleeve Russell Hotel from Monday the 2nd to Thursday the 5th. Enjoy dinner, bed and breakfast and a fantastic lineup of live country music from Dominic Kirwan, Louise Morrissey, Sean Keane, John McNichol, Owen Mack, Jimmy Buckley, David James and Band, Trevor Lockery, Matt Levy and White Lightning. All this for €495 per person sharing. Single supplement applies. To book your place, call Highland Radio on 9125,000 or visit the outlet on highlandradio.com. That's the Highland Radio Country Cabin Getaway this February. Great music, great company, and a few days to unwind.
Here at Braden's House to Home Interiors, Moville and Bridgend, we stock recliner and fabric suites, dining tables and chairs, beds and mattresses, curtains and rugs, and don't forget our large flooring department stocking carpet, vinyl and laminate flooring. We can't be beaten on price or quality and give a weekly delivery service to Donegal, Derry and Strabane, not to be matched. So call in today to Braden's House to Home Interiors, Moville or Bridgend for all your home furnishing needs.
Consider tantalising, tasty turkey meatballs. Oof, Aldi, you're teasing us. Come on, cooked in the tray. Just pop it in the oven. handy. Or what about beef teriyaki? That's sizzle. And then there's succulent salmon with garlic and herby butter. Lovely. The only thing that could make that better is chips. Great value, tasty and handy too. Now you're cooking. Aldi Ready to Cook range. Prepped by us, cooked by you.
Ensure the safety of your team with SafeTech. We have part-funded courses in first aid, people moving and handling, confined spaces, food hygiene, quad bikes, fire warden, IPAF MUPS, electrofusion, welding and machinery cards for Ireland and UK sites. Also delivering online courses like utilities, water hygiene and construction supervisors. SafeTech can deliver group training at your business premises. To find out more, contact safetech.ie today.
Shekelatha ama Highland Radio. Arna Dortugat ag Airgrid. Uproar agus forbor an go letrahas na Héireann. Airgrid. Pobal a guachtu, era a guachtu. Teshe.
The time now 25 minutes past 11. Now, as we heard a little earlier on, a priest in the west of Ireland has appealed to people to stop posting comments such as "he's in a better place now" or "she's at peace with the angels" when sending condolences for their loved ones who died by suicide. And I understand that this is a very difficult topic because, unfortunately, there is a high prevalence of suicide amongst young and middle-aged and older people as well. And I suppose we have to explore everything surrounding this that might in some way maybe completely eliminate, that's not going to happen unfortunately, but reduce the level of suicide. We're blessed to have on the show Father James Sweeney, who's a parish priest and founding counsellor of Tabor House. Good morning, Father. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, Greg.
As I say, no one more than you recognise the sensitivity of this issue, but your fellow priests of the view, words are very important and we have to choose them carefully. Would you agree with him?
Well, I'm not sure what context now he was speaking in, but generally speaking, it would suicide, as we know, is a very sensitive issue, and I think words are important. And sometimes it's not to sometime later, maybe after a conversation or a post has been made. People can read all kinds of things into words. So I think they're very important. And so far as one can be careful and sensitive, I think that's what I would be saying.
Do you think that we as humans don't necessarily know what to say in these circumstances and we communicate more online than we ever did, and there are some stock phrases that we lean on? So in other words, there's not as much intent as one might think when typing something out that sort of makes the act of suicide has left the person in a better position than they were previously.
Well, suicide and people dying by suicide, it's an extremely difficult issue, and it's probably even more difficult, Greg, to understand. But I think, as I said, there are words, and the words that we choose and what we put up online, I think we have to be very careful, because people who maybe and I know we do a lot of stuff online now, and sometimes maybe we put up messages maybe in the spur of the moment, or maybe without adequate reflection, and maybe if we got time to reflect we would choose our words. So I think the message is important, but the wording in the message is equally important, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I was sort of trying to give an example earlier on, and I was talking of young people, and and I sort of suggested that for most people, the older we get, the more we sort of try and we understand our mortality and the consequences of death and the impact it might have, and we will do anything almost to hold on to life. But I think, if you're 16, 17, 18, 19, maybe, that hasn't really landed with you. And often, we see guards of honour, which I understand and I'm not critical of, and it's very respectful. But then, someone who's vulnerable might see this outpouring on social media, almost a glorification, but also to a sentiment expressed that, you know, that you're flying high with the angels, or you're at peace now. You know, that's the terms that are used. I would have a concern that could potentially influence a young person inadvertently. No one would do it with intent one way or other, or am I over amplifying that potentially?
Well, I think you expressed your words there very well, Greg, and you can see the difficulty, for example, sometimes that churches or undertakers or family or whatever have, because while guards of honour, of course, can be very respectful, you know, I've often heard people saying in the past, well, you know, look at the send-off this person gets. It's a glorification. Now, I'm not saying that, but that's what sometimes has been said to me. So it's trying to walk that line and saying to people, you know, look, the dying by suicide is a final act. It's very serious. So I think we should avoid the glorification of it, but you know, people wanting to respect the dead, their friends gone before them, but you know, I think we need perhaps just to remind ourselves, you know, that guard of honour or whatever, that you're gone. And that you're gone and won't be coming back, you know, that there's a finality to it, I think, perhaps, that people don't think about. And, you know, the people and family and friends and relatives that are left behind then to carry that, you know, the deceased is gone, but there's a lot of people hurting and bereaved, you know, so we really have to be careful.
Yeah. And I think, too, I suppose, if we view it as how we might handle or comment on a death that's not a death by suicide, there are, in many occasions, comments or acts that are almost exclusively if someone dies by suicide. And I think that maybe is a red flag as to how you might respond to something, because it separates it out and in some cases actually almost elevates the response or the service beyond if someone died another way, if that makes sense. And maybe that's the sort of reflection that we can have to make sure that there isn't sort of a hierarchy of how we die.
Yeah, death, you know, I've been, I suppose, nearly 40 years now dealing with death and bereavements and all kinds of deaths. You talked there about a death by, a person who's lived a long life, and a death by suicide, or as you know, it's all death at the end of the day. And if you lost your granny at 90, that's a huge loss. Now, if somebody dies by suicide, that's equally a huge loss. I suppose when your granny dies at 90, for example, it's one thing, there's an expectation. Sometimes when unexpected deaths or deaths by suicide, in most cases I think we would say they're not expected. So there's a greater element perhaps of loss and shock and disbelief, and it takes, I think, years then to come to terms with that. Whereas if you're expecting somebody in your household after an illness or old age, I suppose we can look at death slightly different. Whereas if we're talking about death by suicide, I think it's just people, it's unexpected. For most people, I think it's just an absolute devastation and shock. And that's when it becomes even more difficult to get words of comfort and support for people.
Father Sweeney, and this, and I hope my words aren't misconstrued in terms of attributing blame or anything along those lines. I'm just really at this point trying to figure out how we talk about this and what we can do best to limit those that die by suicide. But I just wonder, in terms of younger people who might make a decision in the spur of the moment or perhaps even consider it, would it be inadvisable for us to discuss that maybe we're very reactionary in terms of suicide sometimes, that we maybe talk to younger people about the consequences beyond what we're doing now, in terms of maybe trying to remind people the impact that this might have on people that they love, or how long the impacts of their passing could have on a mum or a dad, for an example. Or would that be too much of a burden for the young mind and could end up being almost a trigger? I'm just trying to tease out if there's something else that we could be doing or having a conversation in a way that is constructive and prevents suicide.
Yeah, I think we need education and we need awareness. I think it would be particularly useful now. It would have to be very carefully delivered, but whether it would be a day on mental health or making choices, I think it would be very useful, because sadly, if you can get to people in time, or people can come for help in time, many, I have a good bit of experience in this field. I find if you can get people to come in time, and young people, then it can make a huge difference, because very much you can help them to maybe plan, to look forward. You can maybe journey with them a bit, and what may have seem a crisis at the moment, that burden lightens, and they see a road ahead. But sometimes when the mind closes, Greg, and we're just probably incapable of thinking clearly, I think that incomes problems. But I think definitely we could do a lot more. I think a lot of people never, maybe a lot of people, and particularly maybe younger people, as you say, like at 16 and 18, we look at things, and when you're in 50 and 60, you look at them a lot differently. Yeah, sure, yeah. There's all kinds of programs in schools, and particularly in secondary schools or maybe universities. But I think it's last Saturday.
But we never
night,
talk,
example,
Father. Just to catch you on that, pick you up on that, if you don't mind. And again, and I would love listeners to say if I'm miles off or whatever. We talk about it's good to talk. We talk about the supports that are there, but we don't talk about, as far as I know, and maybe you'd be privy to. We don't talk of. It seems have a frank conversation with young people about the personal consequences and the consequences on others of suicide. Is that am I saying the wrong thing? Am I being insensitive?
No.
I'm just saying we don't seem to want to talk to them about the consequences, the finality. We talk about what's there, the support and the good, how important it is to talk and what might cause suicide. I just think there's maybe a gap there to help prevent some of them by actually talking about the literal consequences and the impact their passing might have on those that they love the most.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think if we could get some way to this, as I said, it's a death in general, Greg, and death by suicide is a difficult issue for most people, not just for young people. But I do think we need that needs to be addressed. And as I said, just last Saturday, I was up in Drummondtown doing a one-day course called Understanding Suicide. And I think we need to develop something like that to get people maybe to reflect, to think, because I think most people, their mind kind of closes down. They're not in a position to think clearly, I think, most of the time. And I think that is, mental health in general, and particularly the difficult topic of suicide, I think we could do a lot more. There's no doubt about that.
Thanks for all that you do, Father. We appreciate your time. That's Father James Sweeney, a parish priest and founding counsellor at Tabor House as well. And just to, I'm so conscious that it is such a sensitive subject, but also I'm conscious that we have to talk about it, but also maybe even find different ways to talk about it. 086 60 25,000. If you want to talk to me or perhaps, you know, talk about what I was talking about. But Pieta House is a 24-hour helpline, 1-800-247-247. You can also contact Aware on 1-800 80 48 48. The 24/7 support. Text hello to 50808. And we've got loads of lines here. The only one thing I would say is that if you do feel that way inclined, please understand how important you are to so many people, regardless what you might think. And any of us would prefer to speak to someone who is not feeling well, not feeling themselves, feels out of sorts, or feels like, you know, what's the point? Talk to someone close to you, talk to anyone, because you will never know how valuable you are, even if you might think otherwise. You are incredibly important. So reach out to any of those numbers, or to someone close, or to me, for crying out loud. It's happened in the past. I have no issue with that at all. Okay, we'll be back with more after these.
At the heart of every successful business are highly skilled and talented people. That's why at SkillNet Ireland, we know that every skill counts. Whatever sector your business operates in, and whatever skills you or your business needs, contact one of our 70 SkillNet business networks for training and development that's industry-led and can improve your business success. Visit skillnetireland.ie for upskilling and reskilling supports to develop your team. SkillNet Ireland is a business support agency of the Government of Ireland.
Thank you for attending this meditation session for badgers who forgot to check for gas pipes before digging, without knowing how disruptive it could be. Putting others at risk and doing it unknowingly for all their working life. And it could have been avoided had they just checked in the first place. Let's begin.
Always check for gas pipelines before you break ground. Visit gasnetworks.ie/dig for more information.
At Foy's, with expert teams in both Letterkenny and Ballybuffet, we deliver professional interior design and colour consultations for both residential and commercial projects. Whether it's a cosy living room or a full renovation, we offer personalised design advice and premium paint choices tailored to your style. See foys.ie or call in store today to Foy's in Letterkenny or Ballybuffet, and let's bring your vision to life.
PTSB has Ireland's lowest rate for personal loans, from 25 to 75,000 euro. So from new wheels to home renovations, we're here for your next highlight. Apply today at ptsb.ie. PTSB, altogether more human. Lowest rate source ccpc.ie, 18 September 2025, excluding green loans. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply, subject to affordability assessment. Security may be required. Over 18s only. Warning, if you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit, a hire purchase agreement, a consumer hire agreement, or a BNPL agreement in the future. Permanent TSB PLC trading as PTSB is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
What does it take to be Ireland's best-selling car brand? Find out at the Toyota Electrified event at Kelly's Toyota. Our hybrid range speaks for itself, and with plug-in hybrids and fully electric cars, you can be as electric as you want to be. There's trade-up boosters of up to €2,500 and great monthly rates. So, don't miss the Toyota Electrified event October 25th to November 8th at Kelly's Toyota, Port Road, Letterkenny and Drumby, Mount Charles. Toyota, built for a better world.
Thank you to all of you for texting in this morning and being part of the programme. Hey, by just listening, you're part of the programme, but you know what I mean. A caller says, I totally agree. I had a relative who died by suicide, and I agree that some messages online, while meant in great faith, they're sending the wrong message to the public. Another, when will people start thinking suicide is very sick people instead of looking down on them more to be pitied? I don't really get that. I mean, maybe that's what you encounter. I just see people that everything is motivated by understanding that sometimes we feel like that, and that we're all here to try and make you feel better and get any help that you need. Certainly, I get where you're coming from, but that's not the general perception I get anyway. I know a fine mother of a young family went crying for help a few times to hospital and got nothing, and she couldn't take anymore. So sadly, no longer here. So this needs addressing, the supports indeed. And we had a minister recently announced a facility, €1 million plus annual investment in a facility in Letterkenny that would be very, very useful, hopefully, in situations like that. Back to the election. I can't understand the anti-immigration protesters saying I voted Labour or Sinn Féin all my life. Wrong. They voted for them all their adult life. Now they've let them down, but it's reassuring that at least the trade unions are wise enough not to be sucked into this mindless activity of anti-immigration rioting. The latest event in Basin Lane brings back memories when I used to walk to and from work between St James Hospital and my house in Rialto. I'm delighted Connolly won, says a listener, but in relation to spoiled votes, Casey got 23% of the vote in 2018, which is even more than the 12.7% spoiled vote. But Peter Casey was a candidate, and he maybe come off the rails a little bit towards the end. 23% from a candidate come out of nowhere is pretty high, and a spoiled vote's not for anyone. A spoiled vote is literally someone who left the house, went to the polling booth and said, right, this is the protest I'm making. So I think it's much easier to vote for a candidate than it is to spoil your vote. Another caller says the spoilers were right to highlight the few options. What a shame to have so many repeated debates, while more candidates would widen the discussion points and we'd all learn more. But I honestly think the media, especially those conducting those debates, have a lot to answer for as well. The candidates can only answer the questions, and it was all about gotchas, and we all know where the Connolly gotchas were coming from and the Humphreys gotchas, and over and over again the same stuff. Explain how you agree, Greg, that Catherine Connolly owes more to Charlie Ward than Sinn Féin. Disgraceful, Greg. No, that was a comment. I never said that at all. I don't know. I don't have to explain it because it wasn't me that said it. It was a listener that said that. So I don't believe that's the case. In terms of the defective concrete blocks, Charles Ward and Catherine Connolly often sit beside each other in the Dáil. She's backed his motions in relation to that and has spoken out quite a bit, but I didn't even reference that, to be honest with you, because of course here locally Padraig McLaughlin and Pierce Doherty would also back the stuff. So I never said it. A listener said it. I didn't say it. A caller says Fine Gael unlucky to lose Mairead McGuinness, who would be a much better debater than Heather and used to canvassing a large area as an MEP. Miss Humphreys run a low energy canvass in Martin Shopping Centre. She never visited our Donegal constituency. Bundoran on Thursdays in Sligo, Leitrim. Catherine Connolly was up here twice in the last month, met her at Glenty's Harvest Fair and in the Gweedore 2 weeks later. The Heather Humphreys, though, it was the advice she was getting didn't help her. She was advised, and this is exactly how it works, she was advised to behave like she did in the debates. She would have been advised that hit piece that they did on Connolly, that American-style hit piece, ill-advised. I don't understand. It's the advice she received. I don't think she had a fair crack of the whip, to be honest with you. Agree with the caller who wondered why Sinn Féin didn't field their own presidential candidate after what they termed to be a game-changing announcement. Well, Mary Lou McDonald at the weekend defended that game-changing announcement. The idea being that if they fielded their own candidate, it splits the left vote, right? So you would effectively have Catherine Connolly and a Sinn Féin candidate going for the same votes. And the idea being, whether you believe this is the reason or not, is that if the left as a whole got behind the one candidate and got them elected in a landslide, that would be the game changer. Whereas if they ran, they would be opposing Catherine Connolly as much as they'd be opposing Heather Humphreys or Jim Gavin if he was still in it. Micheál Martin also nominated Gay Byrne for president in 2011. Nothing against him as a broadcaster, but I don't think he did a lot for the Irish people. He'd done a lot for himself. I used to be a Fianna Fáil supporter ever since that. No more, says a listener. A couple, because you took so much time to text in as we head towards the weather. It's a sad day for Donegal and the rest of the country that the likes of Catherine Connolly, who's anti-Europe and anti-establishment, is our president. I support my vote because no candidate represented anything I valued, which is your right, and you're amongst that 6,000 plus. Is Catherine Connolly anti-Europe or anti the direction of Europe? I don't know. Morning, Greg. Congrats to Catherine Connolly on becoming our new president. How about a song, The Galway Girl or The West Awake? Thanks, Danny. Danny, I wouldn't be a cheerleader for any personal politics, so maybe someone else could do it, but it won't be me. Fianna Fáil encouraged their votes to vote for Jim, otherwise they'd lose their poster money. Well, yeah, 250 grand, small fry though, isn't it? Hi, Greg. Let's have a debate on this policy of changing the Irish population through mass migration. Do the Irish people have the right to be the majority in their own country? We're a long way from not being it, but I take your point. And we have that conversation constantly on this programme. Micheál Martin will just use the usual Fianna Fáil ploy to stay in power. He'll secretly promise his ministers and backbenchers with new projects and investments in their constituencies. It always works. But maybe Jim Callaghan might say, well, back me as leader and I'll promise you even more. So nothing is guaranteed. And I think it's just a case of timing now. I think Micheál Martin will want to decide the timing. He'll see what the story is. He'll be meeting with backbenchers. He'll see how this investigation into the selection of Jim Gavin goes. And he'll make his call from there. And I would say he's a very shrewd politician. He will make his own decision whether he thinks he can weather it or whether he decides to go in a different direction on his own terms. Time will tell, because he's got his legacy as well to consider. So there's lots going on.
Ah, I see your future. Smooth roads, silent drives. You're starting 2026 in style, behind the wheel of a brand new Kia. I see Kia EV3, all new EV4 and EV5, new EV6 and EV9, 0% finance available, free home charger and a chance to win €10,000 exclusive to iMotors.
We can't predict the future, but we can help you build it. Your future looks electric. Terms and conditions apply. iMotors, the fearless generation.
Say goodbye to stubborn nail fungus with advanced laser treatment at Catherine's Laser and Beauty Salon, Port Road, Letterkenny. Their effective laser treatment targets and destroys fungal nail infection at the source, restoring clearer, healthier looking nails for both hands and feet with no downtime. Catherine's Laser and Beauty Salon, Port Road, Letterkenny. Call 9126427. Attention Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. PD Bathrooms and Tiles are proud to unveil our newest and most stunning showroom in Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana. Located right opposite the Northwest Golf Course, we offer unbeatable quality and incredible value. For 30 years, we've been the experts in total refits, stocking and serving as the sole agent for many top brands. Visit us today and transform your space with the finest bathroom and tile solutions. Telephone 93 95 884. PD Bathrooms and Tiles, where excellence meets value. Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana, F93H10F.
What difference can changing your home heating make? Well, if you switch from oil to Keller gas, it's a bigger difference than you think. Because every new Keller customer gets a blend of our renewable gas, bio-LPG. Works like regular gas but with lower emissions. So now every cosy night in and instant hot shower is that bit cleaner, greener and more sustainable. Switch today and you'll also get a free boiler. Terms and conditions apply. Learn more at kellergas.ie. Keller, the energy that connects us.
At DoorTech Garage Door Systems in Kilmacrennan, we specialise in the supply and installation of all types of industrial roller doors and garage doors. Whether for your home, business or farm, our doors offer the security you need. For premium quality doors, call DoorTech on 9139941 or visit doortech.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. Our Christmas shop has now opened for all your festive shopping needs. Explore our extensive range of decorations, bedding and more in our homeware department, in-store or shop online at mcelhinneys.com today.
So continuing bright and breezy with sunny spells and scattered showers, though those showers will become more widespread as this day wears on, and some could be heavy and some could be prolonged. Temperatures of 10 to 12 degrees in moderate to fresh and gusty west to southwest winds. Eddie Margie joins me on the show now. Eddie, thank you for your time today.
Hi Greg, how's it going?
I'm good, Eddie, but you're worried about safety in the Lisfannon area. Talk to me about what the experience is like living there.
Well, I'm not really out too much on the road, but it's more the kids. Like, you know, there's a lot of housing estates up here, and of kids, and in the evenings there, weekends, they're out playing. And there's just, I suppose, there's just the traffic. There's no traffic calming measures on the road, and there's a lot of speeding cars on the road, It's a dangerous stretch of road, a lot of concealed entrances and housing estates, and it's been used kind of as a way to beat the traffic to get onto Letterkenny now. It's continuous down. If you're going onto Letterkenny, it's continuous hill down in, and with a narrow footpath there as you're going into town, the left-hand side. And the kids be out playing, hey, and with the cars travelling so hard, there's nothing to slow the cars down. Like, so, you know what I mean? I sent in a few photos there.
Yeah, we're looking at it now.
And all the
So
cars.
the road lends itself to traffic to accelerate and speed, but that doesn't take into consideration that it's a residential area.
That's the problem, Greg, man. It's just, you know, I suppose speed, like, it's to keep the kids safe, you know what I mean? Like, if a kid steps out in the road, or if a kid's on a bike, you know, has a speed wobble, you know, if there's nothing there to slow down the cars, like, you know, it's, you know what could happen, like. But then it's going to keep the driver safe too, like, you know, if there's a couple of speed ramps on there, a few speed ramps, you know, it's going to slow that driver down, so he's not going to be put in that position, you know, where a kid comes out off a footpath and the kid gets struck. Like, you don't want that in your conscience. Like,
yeah, there's a road in the videos or photos you sent where you'd be pulling out of sort of a residential area onto that road. I'd imagine the cars coming over that hill or going up the hill, you know, it must be a bit nerve-wracking. In fact, a lot of the junctions there, any of the houses for that matter.
Listen, hey, like my kids, like, I like them outside, I like them out playing, you know, fresh air, that's what a childhood's about, hey. But like every time I send the kids out, they play, and they've all wee friends up here, there's a good gang of kids. All the parents are worried, like, all the parents are feared, you know, the car's travelling too hard, there's nothing to slow them down, like, you know, it'll save the driver too if they just put on some speed ramps if that incident happening, like.
Yeah.
I don't know, I've been on to the roads engineers, and I've been getting feedback, like, but it's been going on since 2023, like, that I first raised the issue, you know, and it's just been back and forth, but there seems to be a slowness. They put on speed ramps.
Yeah, and I mean, the bottom line too is we are seeing collisions. It's only at this point, by the looks of things, that it's not been involving a pedestrian or someone on the road or a kid. You know, we know how big a factor speed is in survival rates.
100%. Hey, you know, there's been 5 or 6 where cars have lost control, and you know, they've hit pillars, hit lampposts, hit the ESB posts. That one actually hit the 60 kilometre an hour actual sign, wiped it out, like, left it lying on against the side of the road, like, just totaled it, like. So I suppose that's a child or something like that there. You know, there's been a lot of smashes and crashes and near misses on this road. You know, and it's a heavy volume of traffic because a lot of people use it now to go into town because they're melting roads backed up.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a kind of new kind of relief road on out of the town.
I know what you're saying. It's not built for it. It's a beautiful stretch of road, but it's not built for traffic at that speed because it's a residential area. And you were there. This traffic effectively has been funneled down past you. It's not your fault. Right, leave it with us. We'll check in with the local authority and see what they have to say, whether it's a council issue or a TII
update,
issue.
actually.
Go on.
I was texting because Kieran Brogan's been looking into it, and Kieran Brogan's been driving it. And he just texted me. They have a workshop tomorrow on this.
Right.
I suppose there's different areas around the town about, you know, traffic calming measures. So there was an update there. Kieran's just after texting me,
all right, good
saying
stuff.
that there's a workshop on this tomorrow. So
okay, well that's live reaction for you, Eddie.
Yeah.
All right, look after yourself.
Hopefully they get. It's just the kids,
chase
man. I'm worried about the kids.
I know exactly what you're on about. It's worrying. Listen, thanks, Eddie. That's Eddie Markey there, resident at Lisnannon. We'll find out what comes from that meeting. That's where we leave it on the show.